actions ratings for industries around the world. They'll be presenting the latest update for MIA, and it's all good news. I'll give you some highlights. We've recently gone from, in the last quarter, from number 10 to number 4 of all the mega airports in the United States in customer satisfaction rating. The FAA recently, like they do every year, we were found to be a well-managed and very safe airport. We passed our annual FAA operational audit with flying colors. We've received also some awards from Global Traveler magazine as the best layover airport in the country, et cetera. Mr. Taylor will be covering some of the data that leads to that ranking, including us being the most improved airport in the United States this last quarter by 28 points. And he'll also mention that we're bucking the trend, considering the amount of modernization and construction we have going on at the airport. The fact that we are achieving those ratings is actually quite remarkable. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Taylor. Maybe you want to say anything?
Through the chair.
Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I just want to say how proud I am of our Miami-Dade Aviation Department and our leader, Ralph Coutier, and our Chief Operating Officer, Jimmy Morales, who've really concentrated and put so much effort into this, and clearly we're seeing the results. And obviously we'll hear the specific ratings, but now to note, we are the 4th in North America among all mega airports, which is a great climb from where we were before. And while we have challenges, we are addressing them very aggressively with your great support. So I just want to say thank you to all of you for the support that you've rendered. And of course, it's showing in the results from our passengers. So with that.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Director, for your leadership as well. Go ahead, sir.
All right, thanks. Well, I have a few slides. This wouldn't be a J.D. Power presentation with a lot of data slides, but as Ralph was saying, you can see on the left-hand side, these are the interim results. Sorry. Not close enough? Got it. Okay, sorry about that. These are the interim results. We're sort of a halftime here of the 2025 study. The 2025 study releases in September of this year. And you can see Miami here is number 4 among the mega airports. Those are the largest airports in the United States. There's about 18, 19 of them here. You'll see a little lozenge or diamond next to the number there at the end, which means it's statistically significantly above the average. And you can see there's also some that are statistically below the average as well. On the right-hand side, you're the blue, Miami's the blue line. You can see in the last, 5, 6 quarters or so, it's been a nice steady climb. As Ralph mentioned, it's hard to do when you have a lot of things going on at the airport. There are 2 things that majorly impact satisfaction at the airport. One is construction, and one is passenger volume. And you guys have got both in spades, so you're doing an excellent job bucking the trend. We usually see a downward slide when you see higher passenger volumes and a lot of construction that goes on at the airport. You know, and some of the things here, it shows you the rankings of each of the particular, what we call dimensions, which I won't spend any time on, other than the level of trust, which you're number 5 out of 20 there. And again, a little lozenge or diamond next to it means statistically significantly above the average for people trusting Miami Airport. These are just some of the individual ones. I won't spend too much time on this. If you're just for completeness sake, you can see what some of the things are trending up and down. Terminal facilities is the only thing that's really holding flat here. It's hard to have a good terminal facility score when you got a lot of people going through the airport. Puts a lot more stress on the bathroom, which is the most critical factor in people's satisfaction at the airport. And I know that among the improvement items that the airport has going on, that bathroom renovation is key among those. So, and you guys can ask questions at any time, or I'll take questions at the end here. So these are some of the things that, other things that we look at that don't go into the rankings themselves. And I wanted to point out that one of the key factors that we see that makes a good airport into a great airport is having a local sense of locality, that it really reflects the sense of the city. And I know that a lot of you have probably traveled for many decades, as I have, but 30, 40 years ago, if you went to any airport...
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me 1 second. Can we quiet down in the back here? Can we quiet down in the back? Like on our back here. Thank you, guys. Go ahead.
Okay, right. If you went to an airport 30 or 40 years ago, you saw the same things in almost every airport. You had a McDonald's, you had usually sometimes a Burger King, a Mrs. Fields cookies, and a TCBY yogurt. And that was about it. You could go anywhere in the world, that's what you would find. And we have found over the last 20 years, the airports that highly perform in the J.D. Power Satisfaction Study are those that reflect a sense of community, usually through food, beverage, and retail, which Miami does an excellent job at. You know, one of the key things here that that is really holding Miami back from that top spot is actually getting people to the airport on time, with a feeling of time. So if you can improve the access scores to your airport, you can take advantage of the things that Miami does really well, which is its food, beverage, and retail program, and that usually boosts the airport in the rankings. So I'll go to the next slide. And, okay, so on the right-hand side, it's hard for me to read this far up here. I guess I need my glasses. But you'll see that we have some what we call image questions. These are on a 7-point scale, not a 10-point scale like most of them. But some of that I wanted to point out were that, of all 20 airports in the mega category, Miami is ranked 3rd in reliability as far as the perception of reliability. People think that when they come to Miami, they're going to have a consistent experience and have a good experience. They're number 2 out of 20 in boring versus exciting. So people think Miami is an exciting airport. And again, that's one of those trends that we've seen in the last 20 years is that it used to be when they created airports many, many years ago, it was just a place to get from one mode of transportation to the other as quickly as possible. Now it's sort of more like a destination. And if it's got a vibe and an excitement to it, that really, really adds to satisfaction and non-aeronautical revenues. And the last one I would mention here is that its reputation is also statistically above the average. And you can see its NPS score, which I won't go into NPS scores because I've got 45 seconds left. But anyway, the story here is that through the halftime here, the Miami Airport is very improving, got a nice, consistent level of improvement from quarter to quarter. The moderating passenger volumes have a positive effect. People trust the airport. Has a great food, beverage, retail vibe to it. Really reflects the sense of that you're in the city of Miami. Some of the things you need to improve on are access to the airport. That's a problem you want to have. You want to have so many people out getting to your airport that it's hard to get to. But providing that sense of time is really what will be the swing factor in getting Miami back to the #1 spot. Now I've got 3 seconds left. Any questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for coming down here for the presentation. Director, once again, thank you for your leadership and making sure that the team accomplishes this. Mayor, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Hardiman.
yeah, I have a question. So I'm glad the airport was here today to make a presentation. One of our I think it was our last meeting, we had an airport item where we, did some extensions and such. And at the most opportune time, I want to discuss, what we did there, because since that has happened, it looks like as the ink is drying, I'm not sure if there's some miscommunication or if we did everything that we thought that we wanted to do, or the things happened the way that we intended it. And so I kind of want to get into a discussion about that. I'm at your disposal because I don't want to interrupt the flow of your meeting at the moment, but I think it's an important thing to be considered. And just to give you a quick example, we know that there were a number of extensions where people had contracts and extended their contracts. And then the board added some other people for us to consider. But even in some of the other people for us to consider, some of the people who are already in that major contract that were extended, they were part of that group that's competing for new spots. So it's just some things like that I kind of want to talk through.
Let's find the right opportune. I know that there was an item submitted to my office for discussion. We have a packed agenda today. But we can always, someone on the prevailing side could always reconsider this item.
Right, and that's why. But I wanted to have I didn't want.
I would like to add some.
I didn't want to move
on my end.
I didn't want to move to reconsider without some real discussion. I guess the question would be for the county attorney's office. Do I need to move to reconsider before any other business is done, or can it happen within the context of this meeting at any time?
Mr. Chair, if
You're recognized.
if there was an appetite for reconsideration, that would have to occur at today's meeting.
Just in today's meeting at some point. So
Yes.
anytime in today's meeting,
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
of course. All right.
Chair.
Any other Commissioner Bastian, you recognize for recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to take a point of privilege to wish everyone listening a happy Haitian Heritage Month. As you know, the month of May is Haitian Heritage Month, where throughout the nation and throughout the world, the Haitian history is celebrated. From the time our ancestors led a successful revolt which allowed our great nation to double its size from the time our ancestors came to fight for the independence war of this great nation, from the time Jean-Baptiste Pointe de Sable founded the city of Chicago, from the time Pierre Toussaint founded the city of New York, and so many more. We're celebrating the impact, the positive impact that Haitians and Haitian Americans are making here in our county and around the world. We have a one-month celebration for you to attend, and then we encourage you to do so. And then during that month, we will be celebrating our history, our music, our traditions, our culture. So I invite each and every one to partake in these celebrations. They are all free of charge. Before ending, I'd like to thank each and every one who took part in our celebration lunch, which was prepared for all of you. Thank you for all of you who attended and then we all had a great time. And then we brought you some gifts this morning. We hope that you'll enjoy. Again, happy Haitian Heritage Month to all.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Bastien, and thank you for the lovely gifts. There's a lot of things in the basket.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Gonzalez, you're recognized for recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very, very important point of order. The best coffee in Miami-Dade County is actually right here in the County Commission, and today is Dulce's birthday, who makes the best coffee, but Friday was Rosita's birthday, and she also makes the best coffee. It's a tie up here, so I just want to wish them a very happy birthday.
All right, thank you, Commissioner, for that. And I want to recognize with us today our Supervisor of Elections, Alina Garcia, in the audience. Thank you for being in the People's Chamber today. And then just a quick little announcement. Unless you are county staff or an elected official, you're not to be walking up to our clerk, where our clerks sit in the back, or past that little rail there on my right, your left. So back here is elected officials and staff only. Obviously, the reason for this is because there has been non-county staff approaching. So with that is, I'm told our sheriff is in the chamber as well. Sheriff, thank you for being with us as well. Is it maybe because we have a mid-year budget? Is that why everybody's here today? All right, Madam Attorney, can we move into the mayoral veto?
Yes.
You have to read something, Madam Attorney?
No, we are on item 2A1.
Okay, so you don't have to read it? All right, fair enough. So with that,
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Commissioner Gonzalez is recognized as. So let me just say one little thing, and I'll recognize you, Commissioner, because the item being vetoed is of course your item, and then I see the mayor wants to say some words as well, and I suspect others may, but I know this veto and the item that this veto is vetoing is very. Some of us are very passionate about, and it's gotten very. I don't like to use the word emotional, but in some cases has. But let's try, with all that's in us, to stay within the realm of the discussion of the veto. That is what is before us today. It is not the pros and cons of fluoridation. It is not those details. It is the veto. So obviously that may extend a little bit, but let's not go down a rabbit hole. That is not the item that we are presumably voting on today. So with that, Commissioner Gonzalez, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'd like to make a motion to override the mayor's veto.
Second.
And I just want to tell all my colleagues, just like the chairman just said, this vote has nothing to do with fluoride. That ship has sailed. This commission has already made a decision as far as fluoride is concerned. What this vote has to do with is leadership. It's Miami-Dade County leading. This commission voted by a wide bipartisan margin to become the first major metropolitan area, the first major county in the United States of America to remove a neurotoxin from its water. And guess what? The state took notice. So much so that the state followed. And in so much conversations of being preempted and making decisions, because that's what this board is about, making decisions, not waiting, but making decisions. This board led, irrespective of what you think about fluoride. This board led. I take big issue when anybody says that the decision to impact and represent the people of Miami-Dade County and their health should not be made by this board and should be left to the state or the national government. I take big issue with that because, colleagues, I'm not going on a government rant here, but at the end of the day, local government is the most important aspect of government connected to the people. The reason being is because we are the closest to the people. We speak to the people every single day, and every decision that we make impacts the people very quickly. We learned that during COVID. We learned that with masks. We learned that with forced vaccines. Now, folks, we made a decision for the people. And the people are sick and tired. The people are sick because their government has been poisoning them,
Commissioner.
through antiquated and distorted FDA and CDC guidelines for years.
Commissioner.
Point of order.
Commissioner. No, Commissioner. Commissioner. As I said, the rules apply to everybody. We're voting and we're speaking on a veto. So
Yes, Mr. Chair.
by you leading the conversation and me granting that, you're now opening up a full discussion that I'm trying to keep this meeting in order. So please stay on the veto.
Understood, Mr. Chair. This vote does not have to do with what we feel about fluoride. It has to do with our connection to the people, and it has to do with this county commission leading. As I stated before, we led. We made a decision. And at this point, I ask my colleagues to join me once more in a wide margin, bipartisan vote to override the mayor's veto. So at this time, I move that resolution number 37025 be adopted and become effective notwithstanding the veto of the mayor.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Gonzalez. We have a second by the Vice Chair. Commissioner from District 7, you're recognized. Is the Commissioner from District 1 also wanting to be recognized? Okay, hold on, 1 second. Mayor, I'm as usual, as a custom, I'm gonna go to you last if that's okay, unless you wave me down that you need to go first. I will grant you that for this one time, but usually I go to the dais first and then say,
Respectfully, Mr. Chair, the action is my veto, and I
Okay.
think I should be allowed.
and you're right, so that's why I'm asking the question. Okay, so hold that thought. I allowed him to speak first, given that he was a sponsor of the original item. Madam Mayor, as it's your veto, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as you all know, last week the Florida legislature did pass Senate Bill 700, and we expect it to be signed into law very shortly. And among other measures, it prohibits the addition of fluoride to public water systems statewide. And I want to be very frank, as we all are here, I am deeply disappointed by this decision. It disregards the overwhelming consensus of doctors, dentists, and organizations of medical experts. I do not substitute my judgment for theirs. I do not substitute my judgment for theirs. When this resolution was introduced by this board, I took it upon myself to educate myself on this critical topic. and to listen closely to the community and to our most trusted medical experts. I met with dentists, doctors, and parents to learn more, and they told me that fluoride is a proven safe and effective way to protect oral health for children and families, and particularly for families
Mayor.
with limited access to dental care.
Mayor, you saw what I just said to my colleagues on the board. I asked that you also remain as much as possible on the veto itself.
Yes, I just need to explain my veto, Mr. Chair.
I
I'm
understand.
going to be very brief. I just want to clarify as to the medical, I am not the physician, but no studies have said that fluoridation at the current levels are unsafe. So that is on the record. So the doctors that I've spoken with were very clear that it would have long-lasting health consequences, especially for our most vulnerable. And in fact, cities who took out the fluoride had to add it back. So many cities have agreed with me. I'm done with my review of the medical data, Mr. Chair. Many of the cities have agreed. 15 local cities, mayors, and other electeds took action. They passed resolutions or they wrote letters to express their concern. And I am additionally disappointed by the preemption. We don't like to be preempted, and as Commissioner Gonzalez said, this is a very important local decision, taking care of the personal health, the public health, and it's taken it out of the hands of our local communities. So I believe that our community trusts dentists, that's what we've learned, and I continue to believe that listening to the medical experts is the best way to protect our health. And so I know that despite these concerns and our opinions here, we must comply with all state laws. So I know that this board must take a procedural step today to be in compliance with state law. But I will continue to navigate on behalf of our community for our public health, and I hope that this commission will stand with me. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Commissioner from District 1, you recognize, followed by Commissioner from District 7, and if no one else, then back to Commissioner from the 11th District.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the sponsor of the initial item, Commissioner Gonzalez, and thank you to our mayor. I believe that, you know, and I've seen all of the press on this, but I want to just take a moment and make it smaller. Let's just make it smaller. This wasn't, listen, we didn't do this in a bipartisan way, because we're not bipartisan on this board. We're nonpartisan.
Right.
We didn't do it because of what people say in the audience. We did it because based on the evidence that was before us as a board. I appreciate the mayor's veto and her veto message and her opinion, and I believe that is a part of our process. Our process allows for us to sit as policymakers, and it allows the mayor to speak at that time, and if she disagrees, to veto, and for us to address that veto here on the board. And so when the chairman says, let's stick to the veto, that's what he's saying. This is a healthy part of any government. Our ability to disagree without being disagreeable. We can have this conversation, and it doesn't have to be hard. I cast a vote based on the evidence before me, and I have seen nothing to change my mind since. And I appreciate, I've gotten the calls from the dentist, including my dentist, thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate that no one's trying to poison us. I appreciate that, but I also appreciate that we trusted contractors when they put asbestos in buildings. And we plus trusted plumbers when they gave us lead pipes. Sometimes when you know different and you know better, you do different. The evidence before us, if the evidence before us was that, yes, we need this for good dental health, I believe that it is helpful for good dental health. I believe that. I also believe that it could be harmful for people, and it's our job to balance that. In balancing that, in balancing the equities of the most vulnerable, I believe that we should stand by our vote. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner from District 7.
Thank you. I just want to clarify some points. First of all, we did not lead, we followed. This has been a priority of Wilton Simpson for over 4 years. And I said that when we spoke on it. And part of the reason that this item was fast-tracked is so that we could get ahead of the state bill, which had been filed, which had been vetted, which had gone to committee and which had had public hearing. So let's not distort what this board decided to do. That being said, my issue remains one of process. It is not the role of this regional government to decide the chemical makeup of water. We do not have the expertise. We do not have the department for it. We follow federal guidelines. And I said clearly when this item came up that the state was going to preempt us, that it had been in the works for some time, and that it is their right to do so. This is a state decision or a federal recommendation. As we mentioned last time, the federal government 10 years ago changed the amount of fluoride that it recommended for everyone to put in water. We follow that. My concern with this vote today is the slippery slope that we're going down. As the chair of infrastructure, am I going to receive, or worse yet, not receive, an item in 2 weeks asking us to change the amount of chlorine that we use to clean our water? Where does it end? We are not equipped to have these conversations. This is not our wheelhouse. If you want to serve at the federal level, serve at the federal level. If you want to serve at the state level, serve at the state level. These are not the regulations that we are tasked by our voters to determine. That being said, as the mayor said, we are all here to follow state law, not just as elected, but myself as an attorney. Everyone here wants to do right by the state and by the federal government. And if they made those changes, we have no other option but to abide by them. My question is procedurally, what happens next? Because we know that the governor is going to sign this bill at 1:30 today. But our rules state that we must take up this veto before any substantive business. As far as I'm concerned, there's no need for this. I'm happy to support the mayor, but because I've spoken for my residents, I can tell you what my residents and what I feel, and I am deeply concerned at what was considered evidence and how it was presented to this board. And I hope that in the future, if we make decisions of this caliber, we do so hearing both sides. At a minimum, an opportunity for a comprehensive look at the issue. And I say it as the only non-member of the committee that attended the presentation that only presented one side. I don't say it as someone who didn't show up every time this item came up. So my question to the attorneys is, what are our options in terms of the process?
When when an item is vetoed, the board has, in essence, 3 options pursuant to your rules. One is you can move to override the veto. We have a motion and a second to do that now. This particular item can be reconsidered before the motion to override is taken up. If reconsidered, the veto is nullified, at which point any option that would have been available when the item originally came to the board is available at that time. And the third option is to do nothing. If no motion is made, then the veto will be sustained.
Thank you, Jerry. I mentioned the reconsideration because there's several issues. The bill that preempts us at 1:30 today has an effective date of July 1st. The item before us is different. The item before us did not consider the logistics of this change. And I know that everyone's interested in the Instagram reel, but I'm interested in the day-to-day of water and sewer. I'm interested in the employees whose purpose it is to regulate this part of our water chemistry. I'm interested in the chemicals that our department has purchased and how we are going to sell or get rid of those chemicals. I'm interested in the day-to-day and in the misrepresentations that have been made to the residents of Miami-Dade County as to that the water that they have been receiving from us is not safe. I went before our municipalities, and all the ones that I went before asked us to keep fluoride and to uphold the veto. And those municipalities are the city of South Miami, the village of Pinecrest, the village of Key Biscayne, the village of Palmetto Bay, and the city of Homestead. So I didn't sit home and watch a reel. I actually went to our partners and I asked them what they thought and what their concerns were. And now the ship has sailed, and this is a state issue. But there are conflicts between what we passed, which I voted against, and what will happen at 1:30 on July 1st. The bill that was passed by the state does not have education. Our bill does have education. There are several things that are not the same. And I think this board should reconsider this item and do the right thing. I think we let the state do this. If you continue with this item, you open yourself up to litigation. Let the state take the litigation. We have no reason to get involved in this fight. So I cannot move for reconsideration because I was not on the prevailing side. It has to be someone that was on the prevailing side. I believe that from a procedural perspective, the right thing to do is to reconsider the item and either defer it or amend it so that it complies with the law that was passed by the legislature. If not, you remain with a conflict on the books and you remain with an issue that's difficult for us to effectuate.
Thank you.
I hope that you do the right thing.
Thank you. Vice Chair, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Chairman, my remarks are very brief as it relates to the veto. I have a letter from Ambassador Andrew Young, who actually had the opportunity to research this issue back in 2016. And I'll be very brief, and I'll just read one line because it's consistent with what I was saying, what I said previously as it relates to this item. We have a former congressman, an ambassador to the United Nations, a key figure in the SCLC, and a former mayor of Atlanta. His exact words were in a 2016 letter to the governor of Georgia. He said, "This is a civil rights issue, and the people have a right to have the full story given to them." Those are my remarks. I borrow directly from our Ambassador Young as it relates to why my position is what it is today. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. All right, we have a motion and we have a second. All in favor of the veto signify by saying aye. Aye. The veto override. Sorry. That's veto override. Sorry, words matter.
They do.
Yeah, words matter. All in favor of the veto override, which is what the motion that we have on the floor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. We need, the ayes have it, right? Yep, the ayes have it with JC. Yep, it was close, but the ayes have it. All right. Show the veto overridden.
Mr. Chair, a point of order. How are we going to deal with the conflict?
That's.
Well, no, water and sewer has to effectuate this. How are we going to effectuate it?
Well, the administration of water and sewer now we would have to deal with the conflict anyway.
Mr. Chair,
Mr.
if I may.
Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
No. We're not. Okay, we're not discussing that. No, we're not gonna. I'm not answering that question, and the administration's not answering that question right now. But that would not only whether it was or wasn't. That's not what we're here to discuss right now. We will discuss that. We could bring an item. We could bring a discussion item. We could have a conversation with the administration. But that's not where we're at right now. Madam Attorney, should we move into reasonable opportunity at this time?
That would be appropriate.
All right, reasonable opportunity for the public to be heard is now open. When I call your name, please state the item you're speaking on, your name and address, and you will have 2 minutes to speak. When I call your name, line up. Alexander Magrizo, Ilona Vega, Yona Janowitz, Philip Studdard, Scott Polowitz, and Tatiana Silva. Alexander Magrizo, Yona Vega, Jonah Janowitz, Philip Studdard, Scott Polowitz, and Tatiana Silva. None of these folks are in the audience? All right, state your name and address. You have 2 minutes to speak.
Thank you.
And the item on which you're speaking on.
I'm speaking on 11A2, Mr. Commissioner. My name is Alexander Magrisso. Law office is at 501 Palm Avenue. I am an assistant city attorney for the city of Hialeah. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Senator Garcia for sponsoring this item, this very important and beneficial item, and appreciate the time to speak on it today. This is for the opportunity zones within the city of Hialeah. And it's a very beneficial program that could come to the city. As many of you know, the city is celebrating its centennial this year, and throughout the 100 years of the city of Hialeah, programs like this have increased our ability to develop and have economic prosperity. So we are fully in support of this item, and on behalf of Mayor Garcia Rovas and the entire City Council for the City of Hialeah, we thank the Commission for taking this opportunity to vote on this item. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Yana Evelina Janowitz. My husband is Scott and is a magistrate and former judge, so my home address is protected. But my mailing address is 251 Valencia Avenue, Coral Gables, Florida 33134. I am here on item 11A11. I am here unsolicited to ask you to appoint Natalie Milian Orbis as District 6 Commissioner. I was proud of the work of Ambassador Cabrera. I serve on neat streets for him and hope to continue to do so. My friend and fellow West Miami resident, Natalie Milian Orbis, has changed the city of West Miami for the better. As Commissioner and Vice Mayor, she has empowered the women of our city to network with each other. She has also started an autism decal program with the police and city. She also worked to resolve difficult issues regarding our schools and has been responsive to residents on both sides of the issue. She has and can-do attitude, and she will be an asset and will serve as commissioner with distinction. While I take my right to vote seriously, I ask you to support the resolution and appoint the person my entire neighborhood and block supports as the next commissioner for District 6, Natalie Milian Orbis. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning, Chairman Rodriguez, Vice Chairman McGee, Mayor Levin-Cava, commissioners, and members of this community. My name is Tatiana Silva, and on behalf of the Miami-Dade Beacon Council, I want to express our sincere gratitude for your leadership and vision in supporting inclusive strategic economic development. I'm here today to express our support for item 3B3, Project Cayman. I reside on 475 Harbor Drive, Key Biscayne. We're here today to express our support for Project Cayman, a proposed $80 million investment in the construction of a new state-of-the-art fish feed production facility in South Dade. This facility will create 50 new jobs at an average annual wages of $70,000, significantly above the state average and South Dade's average. This initiative embodies our commitment to fostering inclusive economic growth. While Miami's skyline continues to evolve with high-profile developments, Project Cayman brings transformative opportunities to communities beyond our traditional economic centers. This reflects the kind of balanced economic strategy we need, investments that support global competitiveness across our entire county. The requested TGIF incentive of $1.5 million over 10 years is performance-based. No dollars are disbursed unless job creation and investment benchmarks are met each year over the course of a decade. The county stands to gain more than $1.2 million in net incremental general fund revenues with a net benefit ratio of 1.75 to 1. Thank you, Vice Chairman McGee, Mayor Levin-Cava, and the Office of Innovation and Economic Development for your continued leadership and support, ensuring that Miami-Dade's economic future is both inclusive and robust. Thank you all for your support.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning. Scott Polowitz. I live at 21190 Mainsail Circle, 33180 Aventura. I'm here to oppose item 4A, which contains an extreme provision removing the public's ability to weigh in on short-form permit applications. Under county code, residents have the right to petition for any short-form permit application to be heard before the county commission. This gives residents and our county commission a voice in this process on the public record and serves as a necessary check and balance to executive power and administrative action. Removing this, like proposed in Section 2 of Item 4A, sponsored by Commissioner Higgins, would allow developers to exploit loopholes in the permitting process and push through environmentally impactful developments without the opportunity for public scrutiny or any input from you, our representatives. Removing this would be a step backwards for accountability and transparency, which I know are two priorities for this board. I'm also with Friends of Biscayne Bay, a citizen support organization for the Biscayne Bay Aquatic Preserves. We're also concerned about the portion of this item allowing a seawall to stick out 2.5 feet into the bay and how that may impact the shoreline. After all, the bay is protected by state statute because it is an aquatic preserve and dredge and fill are not allowed. So we're curious how that would impact that. We would support 4A if these provisions were workshopped and improved or removed. Perhaps limiting the scope of streamlining short-form permit review to just seawall construction and repair, and making sure to exclude things like dredge and fill and marina and dock improvements to comply with state statute. Overall, fixing and creating new seawalls quickly and without delay is important for resiliency and Biscayne Bay health, but not at the cost of all public input into this process. We can only count a few times where this provision has even been used, and it's currently not being abused in our view, and is not the reason for the delays in this process. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Philip Stoddard, 6820 Southwest 64th Court. I'm not going to repeat everything Scott Polowitz just said because I pretty much agree with all of it. I think it is overall a good resolution. I appreciate what Commissioner Higgins is doing. But I'm going to speak specifically to the loss of the public right to hearing. South Miami tried something very much like this about 20 years ago. And it turned out to be a disaster because all the material in the application doesn't necessarily reflect all the contingencies on the ground. And when I say it ended badly, it ended with the termination of the city manager and the loss of the commission seats of all the people who supported it. So South Miami moved away from that pretty readily, and we learned the hard way that public hearing is absolutely essential.
Excuse me, sir. Can we have quiet in the chamber?
Quiet, please. Thank you. And with that, I conclude. Appreciate you all.
All right, thank you. Is that everybody that was registered to speak in reasonable opportunity? All the names I called. Mr. Young, you're not on this list. You might be on another one, but you're not in reasonable opportunity, but I see you, so. All right, reasonable opportunity is now closed. We're going to take a brief recess so I can verify something on the veto override vote. I need to get with the clerk, so we're going to take about a three-minute recess. Don't go anywhere. Those in the audience, quiet in the chamber. We're going to resume our meeting. We're resuming our meeting. No, we have to resume our meeting at this time. We have a long agenda. All right. Apparently, we have discrepancy on the veto override vote. So I'm gonna ask the clerk to do a roll call so that we can have an exact vote count. We need a 2/3 vote, so that's 8 members from who's present, right? Madam Attorney?
If there's 12 here, it's 8.
I believe we have 12. Yes, we do. All right, clerk, please call the roll on the veto override. We have to do this before we take any action on any other item.
Commissioner Bastien.
Point of order, Mr. Chair. Just point of order. I understand, and it's within the chair's discretion to take this vote anytime you want to, but it must be said that our code does not actually say that. Our code says that the clerk should place this item as the first substantive item on the agenda. It does not say when we have to vote for it. That's something that's being opined upon. That's an opinion that's been given by the county attorney. It is not based on our code. It's based on their practices. And I needed us to understand that.
Commissioner, thank you for that. It is my understanding from the attorneys that this is the order that we have to do it in. I've asked several times. That is what the county attorney has stated to me. But either way, it is my discretion to do it. We're going to just go ahead and
read the
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Hardiman.
I move that we take a 15-minute recess.
Okay, you could get a second on that and do it. I'm not going to be okay with that.
Chairman, I got a question. Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead. Vice
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your patience with this dais, Mr. Chairman. But I read the rules similar to Commissioner Gilbert, and I read the rules with that understanding, right? And the understanding is that, yes, it has to be one at the top, but it doesn't say when we have to take the vote. And because it's silent on when we have to take the vote, then I do believe the tie goes to this board.
Madam Attorney, I've asked this question several times. Please respond because there's uneasiness on this.
Mr. Chair, I can read for you what the rule says exactly, and Commissioner Gilbert has in essence told you what the rule says. The clerk shall place the clerk shall place items vetoed by the mayor together with the completed veto forms on the next regularly scheduled commission agenda as the first substantive items for commission consideration. He also said that this has been the custom and practice. That's correct. This has been the board's custom and practice for years. If the board wishes to change that custom and practice, you're free to do so. But that has been the practice of this board for years, as far as I can tell.
Mr. Chairman, if I could speak to that.
Commissioner.
So, and I appreciate the rule. I appreciate the attorney's office, and what she said was completely accurate just now. I just want us to understand that it's always been within the discretion of this chair on how and when we hear things that are on the agenda. And nothing usurps the authority of the chair in that instance. That rule certainly doesn't.
I understand. I'm ready to take a vote. I've had this veto on my desk for days now. I've done my due diligence. If this board feels differently and there's a motion for a 15-minute recess in a second, and you guys a pause, you guys are willing to do that, you're welcome to. But I'm prepared to take this vote.
We voted.
I've had ample time to. We voted, but we need to. I want to do a roll call because there's uneasiness about the outcome of the vote.
Can't the clerk just read the votes, and if someone disagrees, say so?
I'd like the clerk could do that, but at my direction, I'm asking for a roll call.
You are the chair, Mr. Chair.
So yes, the clerk could do that at my direction, but at my direction, I'm asking for a roll call.
Thank you.
Clerk, are we doing a pause? Are you guys voting on a pause or? How much time do you need, Commissioner? Can 5 work? Okay. All right, clerk, let's take a roll call.
Commissioner Bastien. Commissioner Bermudez.
Yes.
Commissioner Cohen-Higgins.
Four.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
4.
Senator Garcia. Commissioner Gilbert. Commissioner Gonzalez.
4.
Commissioner Hardiman. Commissioner Higgins. Commissioner Regalado.
No.
Commissioner Steinberg. Vice Chairman McGee.
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
I vote yes.
Motion passes 8-4.
All right, show the veto overwritten. All right, Madam Attorney, can we move into the next item? Is it the setting of the agenda?
Yes.
What's the motion on the floor? Okay,
Second.
I asked if there was a motion. Okay, well, there was a first motion. So there was a first motion on the floor that, and the attorney said very clearly to me that before any other action is taken, the veto override needs to be taken. Is that not what the attorney said? And it's already done, so it's a moot point at this point. All right, Madam Attorney, is there a motion to set the agenda?
So moved.
Mr. Chair, I have some changes to your agenda. May I read those quickly?
Please read them.
11A4, Commissioner Bermudez and Commissioner Regalado are adding this item to the poll list. 11A5, Commissioner Higgins is adding this item to the poll list. 11A11 and its supplements, Chairman Rodriguez is adding this item to the poll list. 15B1, Commissioner Regalado is adding this item to the poll list. We have additional requests for co-sponsorship. 3B4, Commissioner Regalado. 3B5, 3B8, 3B9, 8N3, and 803, Commissioner Regalado. 11A3, Senator Garcia and Commissioner Regalado. 11A4, 11A5, 11A8, and 11A9, Senator Garcia, co-sponsor for all of those. The items to be considered at today's meeting will be those listed in the printed final agenda with additions, deferrals, withdrawals, and scrivener's errors noted in the chair's memorandum, and the items I previously mentioned. The commission will approve all of these items by single vote set in the agenda, except ordinances for first reading, public hearings, ordinances set for second reading, and the following poll list items. Item 11A4, 11A5, 11A11 and its supplements, 14A1 and its supplement, 14B1 and its supplement. 14B1 is a ballot for which should be distributed, and item 15B1. A motion to set the agendas in order.
Move it.
It's been moved by Commissioner Higgins, seconded by the Vice Chair. All in favor of setting the agenda signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Show the agenda hereby set. All right, and just as a reminder, the clerk disseminated a ballot for the Children's Trust. That we have to submit these names to the governor for consideration. You can select up to 12 nominees. Please fill that out throughout the day and submit it to the clerk for tallying at the end. All right, Madam Attorney.
Mr. Chair, I also have an additional request. Commissioner Steinberg wants to co-sponsor item 11A7.
Show Commissioner Steinberg sponsoring 11A7.
Would you like to move into the first readings?
No.
I'm sorry, yes, you had another item you wish to do now?
Yes, I wanted to take up item 11A11.
Yes, 11A11 was on your poll list, and it has two supplements.
All right, do you need to read it?
I can. 11A11 is the resolution, 11A11 is a resolution making appointment to fill the vacancy in the office of County Commissioner for District 6.
All right, thank you, Madam Attorney. Colleagues and those in the audience. First and foremost, I think it's important to recognize the work of now Ambassador Cabrera, who has gone on and moved on to, I don't know if better things, but certainly bigger things, representing the United States as ambassador to Panama, to the Republic of Panama. But with that promotion, appointment, nomination, and now confirmation, there's a void created on this board for the residents of District 6. And this board is faced with a decision to make. The minute that his nomination was confirmed and he was sworn in, within hours, I opened the process for anybody interested to fill that seat to submit an application if they had a desire to fill that seat. And that application obviously qualified them, whether the residency requirements, certain documentation that they need to fill prior. It is my opinion that that vacancy be filled as quickly as possible, because there are several large ticket items ahead of this board that we must vote on that will affect the residents of District 6. It is very different, and I say this because it's obviously public knowledge, but it's very different than in the event that other districts, such as Senator Garcia or Commissioner Higgins, were to vacate their seat in a future date, because this vacancy is ahead of our budget. It is ahead of the solid waste to energy discussion that we have coming up in July. And it is ahead of many other important decisions that we are going to be seeing before this year is concluded. I believe that this is a very different situation than the races or the seats that I just mentioned. This election would take place in 12 months. Qualification would be in about 12 months. This is not a term that finishes in 2 or 3 years, such as other seats of ours. So the people of District 6, residents and voters of this county, will have the opportunity to make the decision in just over 12 months as to who they want leading that district and representing them. But in the meantime, I think it is our duty to make sure that someone is filled and representing those residents that reside in that district. With that process that was opened, we had only two people, very qualified, submit their applications and intent to acquire that seat. Fast forward, one of those persons, for reasons beyond my knowledge, decided to withdraw and rescind their application. So we're left with one, Natalie Orbis. Natalie is someone that I think a lot of us here have the opportunity to know for many years. She currently sits as the vice mayor to West Miami, so she is well-versed on the side of an elected official. She has also been a stand-up team member and employee of Miami-Dade County for many, many years, I think something about 18 years or so. And she is duly qualified and is the exact example of what we want on this dais. And I confidently would support Natalie Orbis as the replacement to fill the void and the vacancy that Commissioner, now Ambassador Cabrera, leaves behind. So with that, I recognize Commissioner Gilbert for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that we appoint Natalie Milian Orbis to the vacant seat 6, made vacant by Ambassador Kevin Cabrera's appointment.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Gilbert. We have a second by Commissioner Gonzalez. Is there any discussion on the item? Commissioner Higgins, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I've been here longer than any of you have been, so maybe you don't remember, but ever since my first day on the commission, every time we've had an opening, I've always voted for an election. So I will be consistent in voting against this item, which, Natalie, does not mean I have anything against you. We've known each other since the day I entered on this commission. Your work at Miami-Dade County is so community focused. It is a real inspiration to all of us, and it's been a real joy to see you spread your wings beyond Miami-Dade County and get elected in the city of West Miami. So unfortunately, I will be a no. It's not really on you. It's more on the process. And should it pass, which I think it will, I very much look forward to having you be my next door neighbor on the second floor. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And quickly, I was going to say that if there was any no votes, it wasn't a personal issue. It's just about some of us really do believe in the elections, and that's it, so, Mr. Chairman. So I appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation, and thank you, Commissioner Higgins. And just to remain consistent on our votes in the past, that's what you're going to see me in my vote being reflected today.
Thank you, Senator. Commissioner Steinberg.
Ditto. Natalie, you're fantastic.
All right, so we have a consensus. All right, any further discussion? Seeing none. Do I need a roll call? All in favor of appointing Natalie Orbis to the district as District 6 Commissioner to fill the remaining term that Commissioner Cabrera vacated, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Commissioner, congratulations. I think you have some housekeeping to do, but thank you, colleagues, and thank you all for your cooperation. Commissioner Orbis, you have some housekeeping documents to do, and once that is completed and you're fully sworn in, please join us on this dais. All right. And congratulations, really, to the residents of District 6, because it is important that they have representation, whether we agree on how that was filled or not. I think it's important that they do have representation as we move forward into these very difficult decisions that we have upcoming. So I think today's a testament to that, right? So, all right, Madam Attorney, is it in order to move into first reading items at this time?
Yes, yes. So 11A11 as amended is now no longer on your pull list, Mr. Chair. That was taken out.
Yep,
So would you like for me to read all of them?
please do.
Ordinance relating to environmental protection, amending sections 24-48, 24-48.2, 24-48.3, 48.5, 48.9, 48.13, and 48.18 of the code, revising provisions related to expedited administrative authorizations to authorize placement of biodiversity enhancement tiles on an existing seawall or bulkhead under certain circumstances and pursuant to certain criteria, revising provisions related to eligibility for short-form permits with respect to seawalls and bulkheads, revising regulations related to seawalls and riprap boulders, revising procedures related to short-form and standard-form class permits, providing for administrative approval process for both short-form and standard-form class permit applications with certain exceptions, revising and deleting certain procedures which currently provide for short-form and standard-form class permit applications to be heard and decided upon by the Board of County Commissioners, creating exception for work relating to seawalls and bulkheads from the permit application requirement to obtain a substantiating letter or plan approval from the applicable zoning authority, requiring the mayor or mayor's designee to ensure that seawall or bulkhead permits are processed expeditiously, and requiring reports, directing mayor or designee to notify the respective district commissioner of certain seawall or bulkhead permit applications that remain pending beyond specified timeframes, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date. 4B is an ordinance relating to the rules of procedure of the Board of County Commissioners, amending Section 2-1 of the Code, providing that when a deferral is requested and noted on a printed agenda of a commission committee or the full board, the requester shall be indicated in the chairperson's changes memorandum, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date. 4C is an ordinance creating and establishing a special taxing district in the county, generally bounded on the north by Northeast 188th Street, on the east by Northeast 25th Avenue, on the south by Northeast 187th Street, and on the west by theoretical Northeast 24th Place, known and described as HTGAIF Oasis Street Lighting Special Taxing District, identifying services to be provided, authorizing and directing mayor or designee to provide for the installation of streetlights, approving a street lighting agreement with Florida Power and Light, and authorizing mayor or designee to execute the agreement, waiving provisions of resolution number R-13006, and providing for exclusion from the code and an effective date. 4D is an ordinance creating and establishing a special taxing district in Miami-Dade County, Florida, generally bounded on the north by theoretical Southwest 188th Street, on the east by Southwest 132 Avenue, on the south by theoretical Southwest 189 Lane, and on the west by theoretical Southwest 132 Path, known and described as Traeger Estates 2 Street Lighting Special Taxing District, identifying services to be provided, authorizing and directing mayor designee to provide for the installation of streetlights, approving a street lighting agreement with Florida Power and Light, and authorizing mayor or mayor's designee to execute the agreement, waiving provisions of resolution number R-13006, and providing for exclusion from the code and an effective date. 4E is an ordinance creating and establishing a special taxing district in the county, generally bounded on the north by Banyan Street, on the east by theoretical Southwest 99 Road, on the south by West Evergreen Street, and on the west by Homestead Avenue, known and described as Banyan Paradise Multipurpose Maintenance Special Taxing District, identifying services to be provided, authorizing and directing the mayor designate to cause to be maintained and operated various public improvements, and providing for exclusion from the code and an effective date. Ordinance granting petition of Lennar Homes LLC, it's item 4F. Ordinance granting petition of Lennar Homes LLC for establishment of a community development district generally bounded on the north by Southwest 336th Street, on the east by theoretical Southwest 194 Avenue, on the south by theoretical Southwest 340 Street, and on the west by Southwest 197 Avenue, Richard Road, creating and establishing Acacia Grove Community Development District, providing for name, powers, and duties, providing description and boundaries, providing initial members of Board of Supervisors, accepting proffered declaration of restrictive covenants, providing severability, exclusion from the code, and an effective date. 4G is an ordinance relating to Miami-Dade County Comprehensive Development Master Plan, providing disposition of application number CDMP 2024-21, located on the east side of Southwest 127 Avenue and 950 feet north of Southwest 248th Street, filed by Blue Nest Development LLC as a 2024 out-of-cycle application to amend the county's Comprehensive Development Master Plan, providing severability, exclusion from the code, and an effective date. 4H is an ordinance relating to Miami-Dade County Comprehensive Development Master Plan, providing disposition of application number CDMP 2024-3, located on the northeast corner of the intersection of Southwest 197 Avenue and theoretical Southwest 328th Street, filed by D.R. Horton, Inc. in the January 2024 cycle to amend the county's Comprehensive Development Master Plan, providing severability, exclusion from the code, and an effective date. 4I is an ordinance relating to Miami-Dade County Comprehensive Development Master Plan, providing disposition of application number CDMP 2024-19, located on the southwest corner of Southwest 240th Street and Southwest 124 Avenue, filed by Blue Nest Development LLC in the October 2024 cycle to amend the county's Comprehensive Development Master Plan, providing severability, exclusion from the code, and an effective date. 4J is an ordinance relating to the Rapid Transit Zone zoning district, amending section 33C-2 of the code, providing for procedures and processes related to the payment and collection of impact fees within municipalities, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date. 4K is an ordinance relating to certain reporting requirements, amending sections 2-11.40, 22-7, 32-101, and 2-285.2 of the code, rescinding reporting requirements set forth therein, providing for an optional sunset review process of county boards by the chairperson of the county commission, amending ordinance number 19-17 to rescind reporting requirements set forth therein, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date. 4L substituted as an ordinance relating to the Rapid Transit System Development Zone, amending Chapter 33C of the Code, providing for the expansion of the Rapid Transit Zone and creating the Coral Gables University Station subzone of the Rapid Transit Zone, which could, through future action of this board, encompass property within a quarter-mile of the University Metro Rail Station, providing for county regulatory jurisdiction over properties added to the Coral Gables University Station subzone of the Rapid Transit Zone, providing for uses and creating standards, criteria, and procedures for approval of applications within the Coral Gables University Station subzone, adding certain private property to the Coral Gables University Station subzone, making technical changes, directing mayor designee to coordinate and negotiate with the city of Coral Gables as to a future interlocal agreement which could address additional concerns or considerations that may arise in the future, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date. Those are your first reading items. I do have a request to bifurcate two of the items. Items 4A, Senator Garcia, and 4K, Commissioner Bermudez.
4K is who, I'm sorry, Madam Attorney?
Commissioner Bermudez on 4K. Mr. Chair, just want to confirm we have quorum.
Do we? Clerk, do we have quorum? Yes?
Yes, we do.
Are you sure we have quorum?
Yes.
All right. All right, so do I have any other bifurcations outside of 4A and 4K? Any additional bifurcations? No? All right. Do I have a motion for the remaining of the items, first reading items?
moved.
All right, it's been moved by Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, seconded by Commissioner Bermudez. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Bermudez.
Yes.
Commissioner Cohen-Higgins.
4.
Senator Garcia. Commissioner Gilbert. Commissioner Gonzalez.
4.
Commissioner Hardiman. Commissioner Higgins.
Yes.
Commissioner Regalado. Commissioner Steinberg. Commissioner Steinberg. Commissioner Bastien. Vice Chairman McGee. Chairman Rodriguez.
I vote yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. there's a motion on 4A by Commissioner. There's a motion by Commissioner Bermudez. Second by Commissioner Gilbert. Clerk, please call the roll on
4K.
4A.
No, mine was 4K, man.
Yeah, no, but there's a motion to approve, because we got to do a separate vote.
I'll
So,
move
4A.
Clerk, please call the roll on 4A.
Commissioner Cohen Higgins?
4.
This is for 4A, yes.
4A.
Senator Garcia? Commissioner Gilbert?
4A.
4A.
It's the permitting.
Commissioner Gonzalez? Commissioner Hardiman? Commissioner Higgins? Commissioner Regalado? Commissioner Steinberg?
Yes on first read.
Commissioner Bastien? Commissioner Bermudez?
Yes.
Vice Chairman McGee? Chairman Rodriguez?
I vote yes.
Item moves 10-1.
Commissioner Higgins moves 4K, seconded by Commissioner Regalado. Clerk, please call the roll on 4K. It's a first reading item.
Senator Garcia? Commissioner Gilbert? Commissioner Gonzalez?
4.
Commissioner Hardiman? Commissioner Higgins? Commissioner Regalado? Commissioner Steinberg? Commissioner Bastien? Commissioner Bermudez?
No for now.
Commissioner Cohen Higgins?
4.
Vice Chairman McGee? Chairman Rodriguez?
I vote yes.
Item moves 10-1.
All right. Madam Attorney, are we in public hearing items?
Well, Mr. Chair, I believe Commissioner Regalado pulled item 15B1 to make a motion related to item 4J. Would you like for us to read that now?
Please.
4J. Yes, 4J. Commissioner Regalado moves to suspend the board's rules of procedure to waive the 4-week, 6-week municipal notice requirement as to item 4J, Legistar number 250882, to schedule this item for June 10 Transportation Committee and amend item 15B1 accordingly, direct the agenda coordinator to send the appropriate municipal notices, and direct the clerk of the board to publish all necessary notices relating to this item.
Move it.
It's been moved by Commissioner Regalado. Second by Commissioner Higgins. We need a voice vote.
Yeah.
All in.
Question for Commissioner Regalado on this item?
Go ahead, you're recognized, Commissioner Gilbert.
Yeah, I think I'm supportive of it. I just, could you explain this a little to me, please?
This is a first reading item, though, right?
Oh, it's first reading? Okay. Oh, first reading, absolutely,
Sending it
yes.
to committee.
Yes.
Okay. All right, clerk, please call the roll.
Yep.
Commissioner Gilbert? Commissioner Gonzalez?
4.
Commissioner Hardiman? Commissioner Higgins? Commissioner Regalado?
Yes.
Commissioner Steinberg? Commissioner Bastien? Commissioner Bermudez? Commissioner Cohen Higgins?
4.
Senator Garcia? Vice Chairman McGee? Chairman Rodriguez?
I vote yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, Madam Attorney.
Yes, so with that, 15B1 is now off your pull list, and I can read all the public hearings.
Please do.
5A is an ordinance relating to airport zoning regulations in the incorporated and unincorporated areas, amending section 33-333 of the code, revising prohibited uses in the critical approach zone for Miami-Dade County airports to allow certain emergency care facilities to be established within the zone, revising definitions, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date, and its supplement. 5B is a resolution co-designating that portion of Southwest 17th Avenue between Southwest 22nd Street, Coral Way, and Southwest 21st Terrace as George Monteagudo Way, and its supplement. 5C is an ordinance relating to the Employee Protection Ordinance, amending Division 6 of Article 4 of Chapter 2 of the Code, revising the Employee Protection Ordinance to extend protections to county employees who report violations of certain county ethics rules and regulations, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date. 5D is a resolution approving the Local Housing Assistance Plan as required by the State Housing Initiatives Partnership Program Act, authorizing the submission of the Local Housing Assistance Plan for review and approval by the Florida Housing Finance Corporation. 5D is That's 5E is a resolution approving amended fiscal year 2024-2025 annual public housing agency plan, Section 8 administrative plan, and admissions and continued occupancy policy. 5F is an ordinance related to environmental protection, amending Section 24-43.1 of the code, clarifying standards for calculating sewage flow and sewage loading, using total floor area, providing exceptions for certain structures when calculating the total floor area, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date. 5G is an ordinance creating and establishing a special taxing district in the county, generally bounded on the north by Southwest 280 Street, Walden Drive, on the east by Harriet Tubman Highway, on the south by Harriet Tubman Highway, and on the west by Southwest 157 Avenue, Newton Road, known and described as South Dade Apartments Multipurpose Maintenance and Street Lighting Special Taxing District, identifying services to be provided, authorizing and directing the mayor designee to cause to be maintained and operated various public improvements, and to provide for the installation of streetlights, approving a street lighting agreement with Homestead Energy Services, and authorizing mayor's designee to execute the agreement, waiving provisions of resolution number R-13006, and providing for exclusion from the code and an effective date. 5G1 is a corresponding resolution approving, adopting, and confirming the preliminary assessment role for the district. 5H is an ordinance creating and establishing a special taxing district in the county, generally bounded on the north by Southwest 302 Street, on the east by Southwest 194 Avenue, on the south by Southwest 304 Street, Kings Highway, and on the west by theoretical Southwest 195 Avenue, known and described as Aspen Estates West Multipurpose Maintenance and Street Lighting Special Taxing District, identifying services to be provided, authorizing and directing mayor designee to cause to be maintained and operated various public improvements, and to provide for the installation of streetlights, approving a street lighting agreement with Florida Power and Light, and authorizing the mayor designee to execute the agreement, waiving provisions of resolution number R-13006, and providing for exclusion from the code and an effective date. 5H1 is the corresponding resolution approving, adopting, confirming the preliminary assessment role for the district. 5I is an ordinance creating and establishing a special taxing district in the county, generally bounded on the north by Northeast 149th Street, on the east by Northeast 18th Avenue, on the south by theoretical Northeast 148 Terrace, and on the west by theoretical Northeast 17 Court, known and described as Colibri Apartments Multipurpose Maintenance and Street Lighting Special Taxing District, identifying services to be provided, authorizing and directing mayor designee to cause to be maintained and operated various public improvements, and to provide for the installation of streetlights, approving a street lighting agreement with Florida Power and Light, and authorizing mayor designee to execute the agreement, waiving provisions of resolution number R-13006 and providing for exclusion from the code and an effective date. 5I1 is a corresponding resolution approving, adopting, and confirming the preliminary assessment role for the district. 5J is an ordinance granting petition of Lennar Homes LLC for establishment of a community development district, generally bounded on the north by Southwest 272 Street, Etmore Drive, on the east by theoretical Southwest 158 Passage, on the south by Southwest 276 Street, and on the west by Southwest 162 Avenue, creating and establishing Etmore Community Development District, providing for name, powers, and duties, providing description and boundaries, providing initial members of Board of Supervisors, accepting proffered declaration of restricted covenants, providing severability, exclusion from the code, and an effective date, and its supplement. 5K is an ordinance relating to sanitary sewer discharge limitations and pre-treatment standards, amending Article 1 of Chapter 24 of the Code, providing certain definitions and modifying other definitions, incorporating by reference state of Florida and federal pretreatment regulations, clarifying that the Environmental Quality Control Board shall not have jurisdiction to grant variances or extensions of time for pretreatment regulations, revising local limits, requiring submittal of reports related to pretreatment regulations, revising regulations pertaining to operating permits to remove obsolete provisions and make technical changes, amending adoptions of federal and state environmental protection regulations, amending section 24-42.4, revising definitions, criteria, and requirements relating to pretreatment, sanitary sewer discharge limitations, wastewater, and storm sewers, amending section 24-44, updating references to state regulations relating to state program contaminated site cleanup criteria, amending section 24-44.2, incorporating by reference pretreatment regulations and revising provisions, including provisions relating to compliance tests, sampling points, and methods, amending section 24-46, revising provisions related to liquid waste transporters, making technical changes, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date. 5L was deferred. 5M is a resolution approving the plat of Janama South subdivision filed by 4-Star USA Real Estate Group, Inc. 5N is a resolution approving the plat of Springfield Commons. 5O is a resolution approving the plat of HTG AIF Oasis. 5P, resolution approving the waiver of plat of Jose Luis Gutierrez and Orquídea Santos. 5Q is a resolution approving the plat of Summit Estates. 5R is a resolution approving the plat of 179 Arvella. 5S is a resolution approving the plat of Traeger Estates filed by Robert Delon, R.E. LLC, and Millrose Properties, Florida, LLC. 5T is a resolution approving the plat of Traeger Estates 2, filed by Millrose Properties, Florida, LLC. 5U is a resolution taking action on a Class 1 permit application by Florida Gas Transmission Company, LLC, for the filling of tidal waters associated with repairs to the Miami Beach lateral gas pipeline located in the city of Miami, north of Biscayne Island, and in the city of Miami Beach, east of Star Island. 5V is an ordinance relating to zoning and parking in the unincorporated and incorporated areas of the county, amending sections 30-46 and 33-122.2 of the code, increasing required number of parking spaces for persons transporting young children and strollers in certain locations, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date. 5W is a resolution approving the conveyance of county-owned property to Family Action Network Movement, Inc. for provision of essential social services to the community, declaring the property surplus. 5X is a resolution code-designating that portion of Northwest 24th Avenue between Northwest 133rd Street and Northwest 135th Street as Reverend Dr. Antoine Lenoir Sr. Avenue and its supplement. And 5Y substitute as an ordinance approving and adopting fiscal year 2024-25 mid-year supplemental budget adjustments and amendments for various county departments and funds. And for constitutional officers, amending ordinance numbers 2497, 99, and 102 to make budget adjustments, ratifying and approving implementing orders and other board actions, which set fees, charges, and assessments for fiscal year 24-25 and providing for their amendment, appropriating grant, donation, settlement, and contribution funds for fiscal year 24-25 to the county and to constitutional officers, and waiving section 2-1796G of the county code with respect to presenting a mid-year budget amendment not earlier than April 1st. Amending resolution number R-45424 relating to World Cup funding, amending section 1-4.3 of the county code regarding reorganization of certain county departments and functions, providing severability, inclusion in, and exclusion from the code, and an effective date. Those are your public hearing items.
All right.
And I do have a couple requests to bifurcate, Mr. Chair, at the appropriate time.
All right, let's do public hearing. Let's open up public hearing, and then we'll do all the bifurcation if that's okay. All right, I'm going to call those individuals signed up for public hearing items. Please state your name and address for the record, what item you're speaking on, and you will have 1 minute to speak on the item. As I call your name, line up and be prepared to walk up to the podium. Sean Rowley, Stanley Young, Brenda Betancourt, Carlos Gutierrez, Pat Santangelo, Alina Hudak, Ronnie Barreto, Tamara Baylor Rodriguez, David Whitaker, Carlos Rionda, and Marlon Hill. State your name and address. You have 1 minute to speak.
Sean Raleigh with Legal Services Greater Miami, 4343 West Flagler Street, Miami, Florida, speaking on 5E. We submitted comments on the ACOP and administrative plan, and they are attached to the county's resolution, which we hope you'll be able to take a chance to look at. I'll focus my 1 minute on rental assistance demonstration. The rules at RAD properties should remain as close as possible to the current public housing rules. Legal Services has seen late fees at RAD properties increase by 500%. We were pleased that late fees were addressed recently in the Commission's approval of the Little River Development Plan. Please make this a precedent for all future RAD developments. Further, private management companies running RAD properties often provide no training to their staff on the complicated rules related to RAD and PBB vouchers, which can often lead to improper evictions. Training for privately managed staff at RAD properties should be a requirement. Lastly, the current public housing rules requiring landlords to offer payment plans before evicting a family should also be required at RAD properties. We have seen some privately managed properties filing evictions for as low as $27 at PBV properties. Thank you. Please take a look at our written comments. Thank you.
Good morning. Brenda Betancourt, 1436 Southwest 6th Street. Just shortly, thanks to commissioners and the mayor for the day of prayer and the event that was this weekend, it was really refreshing to see that we still embracing God in our life. And 5A, I'm in favor of the facilities built around the airport. Are we just looking at around the MIA, or we are looking at the Miami as well? That was my question to see if we are just looking in the major airport or the facilities in the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
Good morning. Carlos Gutierrez, specialist, 4th class, retired veteran, served 10 years. I am now at Encore Miami Everglades. We just came back from California, so the actual number, I'm mistaken. So I'm here today to object to number W, simply because it says new Haitian community. I'm not sure if the resolution that was passed by the legislator of Florida that the governor did not sign, Governor Wallace, is still a resolution, and that's why you do not allow the federal government to usurp the state government with redlining and blockbusting. To call a community...
What item are you speaking on again?
W5W.
No, 5W is not an ordinance to the state, though.
A resolution.
It is a resolution, but doesn't have, okay. I mean, you can go ahead. I'm just not sure if you're speaking on the right item. Just trying to make sure you're speaking on the right item so everyone can follow.
I believe she read W.
Okay. Go ahead.
So let me start over. Carlos Gutierrez, Specialist 4th Class, U.S. Army, 3rd Infantry. I came from Cuba in 1965. We arrived. I was 63. I was born. My family did not have a Cuban community. We're exiled. So why is the federal government prohibit blockbusting and redlining for you to create a community called Haitian community? If I'm not mistaken, my sister was born here. She's an American.
sir.
I'm an American citizen.
Thank you.
Why do you differentiate
Sir.
between Haitian community
Mr.
and
Gutierrez.
different communities?
Your minute is up. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Sir.
My name is Pat Santangelo. I'm here to speak in favor of 5Y substitute with the Little Haiti FC soccer program. It's a youth soccer
Your address?
program, and we're strongly in favor
Your
of this
address?
item. Thank you.
Your address for the record, please.
Pat Santangelo, 7100 Biscayne Boulevard.
Mr. Young.
Chaplain Stanley Young, 500 Northwest 2nd Avenue. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioners, staff, Mayor. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share with you. I'm at 5E. I am for housing. I will fight for housing. I'll stand for housing. I travel through Miami-Dade County trying to assist the homeless, trying to assist the mentally ill, trying to assist those who need housing, who need the county to stand up to give them what they need. We need the mental health hospital on 7th Avenue, 23rd Street. We need it to be open now. I just left the library. A lot of homeless people is piling into the library to get some cool air that you enjoy. So in this amendment with the HUD, I hope that you will consider those who don't have a voice as such as yours, the homeless, mentally ill, and those that have substance abuse. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Young. All right.
Yes, Commissioner.
No, I said thank you.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners,
Hold on 1 second, Mr. Do we have a quorum, clerk?
Everybody taking a picture, or where'd they all go? Okay, we.
Got 7? Okay. Continue.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I defer to my time to Alina. Thank you.
Well, so just real quick though, Mr. Barreto, you can say that like publicly, but she still has 1 minute. You could still speak though, your minute if you'd like to. We'd love to hear from you.
Good morning, Honorable Chair, Madam Mayor, Honorable Commissioners. Alina Hudak, President and CEO of the Miami World Cup Host Committee. I stand before you today not only as your president of our host committee, but also a 35-year veteran of these chambers. And I understand all too well the courage and leadership that all of you are exemplifying today by supporting and bringing a global event of this magnitude to our community. I want to express our appreciation to the mayor and her staff and all of you for your support of our commitment and the commitment that this county made in bringing the 7 matches. I am joined this morning by members of our volunteer members of our board, community leaders, community groups, all who stand beside us and help to implement and execute the commitments that were made. Today, we respectfully ask that you support the mayor's recommendation and fund the balance of the original request to finance the critical elements of the host city agreement. Those elements include public safety and security requirements, expanded transportation access, infrastructure and event logistics for fan experiences, volunteer programming, marketing, branding, community outreach, and a whole host of requirements that are all outlined in the community's agreement. It is important to understand the over $1 billion economic impact that this means and signifies to us. And again, we thank you
Thank you,
so
Ms.
much for
Hudak.
your support and for your partnership. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for your leadership in Miami-Dade County during your tenure. Ms. Rodriguez.
Yes, I am Tamara Bella Rodriguez. Thank you. Good morning. I, along with my family, own and operate multiple businesses in Miami-Dade County and have proudly done so for well over 2 decades. In addition, I have been involved in several initiatives with the intent of ensuring upward social mobility for my community. So today, I speak to you not only as a board member of the host committee, but also as a local business and community leader. Through my work with our media company, Island TV, I've met small businesses, owners from North Miami to Homestead, from Little Haiti to Sweetwater, people who are passionate about this community and see the World Cup as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I urge you today to consider Mayor Cava's recommendation for funding. Chair Rodriguez, with up to over 1 million visiting our region, consider the impact on local restaurants in Sweetwater, expanding to handle higher demand. Vice Chair McGee, consider the family-owned farms in Naranja who will benefit from the increase in demand from their products. Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, consider the middle school and high school students who will have a chance to volunteer throughout the 6-week period and could have experiences that can shape them, and who knows, they may even have a story for their college essay. Thank you for considering thank you for your consideration, and you're supporting small businesses that power this county every day.
Thank you. And I urge you to get with each one of us individually and tell them what else they're going to be supporting, because Senator Garcia feels left out.
I feel left out.
Yeah.
I feel really
I
left
only
can
had a
tell.
minute. I only
know,
had a
I
minute.
can
Thank
tell, I
you.
can tell. But that's fine. You prioritize. I like that.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is Carlos Rionda, 8225 Miller Drive. I'm in favor of 5Y. I grew up in this town in Miami, and during the 70s and the 80s, the Dolphins were the only sporting passion in what was truly a one-team town. Like many young people then, my only way to experience sports was through television. I dreamed of Miami becoming a hub for professional sports. That vision began to take shape in 1985 when visionary Joe Robbie, the owner of the Dolphins, conceived the idea of a multi-sport stadium in Miami Gardens. By 1987, he brought this dream to life, personally investing to build the $114 million stadium that was fittingly named Joe Robbie. Built 40 years ago, the stadium was intent not only for NFL football, but also for another sport close to Robbie's heart, soccer. My decision to volunteer for the World Cup Host Committee stems from a desire to honor his foresight in establishing Miami-Dade County as a major sports destination. As the saying goes, if you build it, they will come. Our city has now truly become the ultimate sports destination.
Thank you, Mr. Rionda.
Thank you.
The beep is like, the beep means stop. Yeah. Mr. Whitaker.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, Madam Mayor, Chief, Commissioners. First and foremost, I'm just here to support the request to be the host city for FIFA. Your Convention and Visitor Bureau, we're part of the logistics team, we're part of the coordination team, we're helping financially and also, of course, marketing this amazing event. I do want to take a moment in my brief time how fortunate we are to have Alina in this leadership position. It's a joy to work with her. We are so fortunate to have her. She has my full support, our organization's full support. I sincerely and humbly ask you to give her your full support. And Rodney has provided tremendous leadership in his role, and I'm a proud member of the board. A couple of numbers I'll give you in the last few seconds I have. 7, think of your favorite event. NASCAR in Homestead, F1 just yesterday or 2 days ago, the South Beach Wine and Food Festival, Art Basel. We have 7 of these events next year, 7. And so the economic impact alone, you've heard the numbers. There'll be, in Miami-Dade County, about 500,000 international visitors. International visitors stay twice as long, spend twice as much. They'll generate over $20 million just in sales tax, which is a number. So again, if I had more time, I'd talk about more economic impact.
But you don't.
And,
So thank you.
and
Thank you, Mr. Whitaker.
And just lastly,
You could
it's the summer.
circulate. You could
It's the
circulate.
summer.
It's the summer, yeah. And
Do remember that. This is a low period of time.
the
So
state legislature is reminded because they have to go back, but it's the summer. All right, Mr. Hill.
Chair Rodriguez, thank you for having me. 13525 Southwest 119th Avenue. Almost 40 years ago, I came here to the United States from Jamaica. And football and soccer pretty much saved my life in my transition in living in Southwest Dade. Last month, we lost our coach, Alfredo Lardizabal, Sr. He came here also to this country from Honduras. As a father of 6, he made time for us, teenagers from Italy, England, Trinidad and Tobago, Colombia, Peru, other countries. And I must tell you that without access to these programs and places to play, we could have found idle time for idle things. Please do not think about this World Cup as just an event. It's really a legacy, a moment in time in our history to really cement our place in global history. As you are stewards of this treasury, make sure that you are looking at every single dollar. And as a member of your Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau, I will also exercise the fiduciary duty to watch those dollars as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. All right, Madam Attorney, do we have some bifurcations?
Yes, we have Commissioner Higgins on 5E. Item 5P, Senator Garcia. Item 5W, Senator Garcia and Commissioner Bermudez. 5X and its supplement, Commissioner Regalado. And item 5Y substitute, Senator Garcia.
Any additional bifurcations?
As a clarification, mine is 5W, not 5X.
Okay, so then 5X is released.
5C.
So add 5C.
Mr. Chairman, the department asked me to bifurcate 5E, but it's just for a simple amendment to make the interim reexamination, should anyone's income change, a little more flexible. So if they could read that amendment, then we could
Please read the amendment.
vote on that together.
Please read the amendment.
Sure.
On 5E.
On pages MDC 603 and 604, sections 15.2A and C of attachment E of the Section 8 Administrative Plan, and on page MDC 842, sections A1 and 3 of Chapter 7 of Appendix 6 of the Admissions and Continued Occupancy Policy, both titled Interim Reexaminations and Interim Rent Decreases, respectively, are amended as follows. Under the subheading interim reexamination, strike from the first and second sentences by 10% or more. Under interim rent decreases, it should read, HCD must conduct a full interim reexamination if the family's incomes has decreased, and the last sentence, which read, HCD must conduct a full interim reexamination for all decreases in adjusted income upon the permanently removal of a family member from the assisted unit is to be stricken in its entirety.
So then I could release my bifurcation of 5E if we voted on it as amended. Thank you.
All right, so with that, let's, any other bifurcations? Seeing none, so let's, Commissioner Gilbert moves the remaining of the items, including 5E as amended, seconded by Commissioner Regalado. And Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
4.
Commissioner Hardeman, Commissioner Higgins, Commissioner Regalado, Commissioner Steinberg, Commissioner Bastian, Commissioner Bermudez, Commissioner Cohen-Higgins,
4.
Senator Garcia, Commissioner Gilbert,
Yes.
Vice Chairman McGee,
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
I vote yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, 5P, Senator Garcia. You bifurcated 5P? All right, so.
I move the item.
So the item moved by Commissioner Gilbert, seconded by Commissioner Steinberg. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hardeman, Commissioner Higgins, Commissioner Regalado, Commissioner Steinberg, Commissioner Bastian, Commissioner Bermudez, Commissioner Cohen-Higgins,
4.
Senator Garcia,
You have a mistake there.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Huh?
No?
Seriously?
Who's after that?
People,
No.
Okay.
Clerk, is there an issue?
Sorry, Commissioner Gilbert. Sorry, Commissioner Gonzalez.
4.
Commissioner Gilbert. Vice Chairman McGee.
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
I vote yes. You're not.
Motion passes 10-1.
All right. All right. 5W. Commissioner. I have two bifurcating. Senator Garcia. Okay. Commissioner Bermudez.
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions. I actually got numerous questions, even though I appreciate my colleagues' proffer. And they're mostly of staff, so I don't know who would be the proper person to answer this. Regarding the rent balance, what was the entity charge for rent per month or per year? If anybody could tell me that.
The administration is recognized.
Thank you. Through the chair, Alejandro Esteve Martinez, who leads our real estate portfolio.
Good afternoon, Chair, Commissioners. Through the chair, the monthly rent payment was $4,000 a month. We assumed that amount when we purchased the facility.
Okay. So the county assumed that amount when?
They assumed an existing lease that included that provision of $4,000 a month, yes.
How long was this organization unable to pay rent?
We've been working with the organization, and we've actually worked with them on 2 separate payment plans for them to become current. So there was one that was issued recently, which they agreed to. So past due amounts have become current, but they've fallen in some level of non-compliance. But we issued them a very recent as last month, a payment plan which they accepted and they were going to comply with.
Which is good news, but let me go back to my question. How long, when did they fall out of compliance? How's that? Let me rephrase my question that way. How long, when did they first fall out of compliance?
Almost since the inception, they were non-compliant, so that's when we started working with them as far as getting a payment plan in place. So going back to 2022 was when those conversations commenced, and in 2023, a non-compliance letter was sent to them with the payment plan, which subsequently they have made payments to come up to date to that payment
And
plan.
the inception was when?
The board approved this in 2017.
2017. So you said, and I'm going to paraphrase, I think this is what you said. You said almost from the inception, they were unable to make payments, right?
Correct.
As I understand, it's going to be a $975,000 bond allocation. Is that correct?
That's what the item calls for.
Will this organization be able to properly maintain and operate this building over time, which includes paying insurance, utilities, et cetera, even with that bond allocation? Or is it your professional opinion that they might come back and have the same problems they've had almost since the inception?
There are deed restrictions, which we will monitor as part of the PCAT report that is going to be submitted to this board on a quarterly basis. So this property would be monitored.
There's a reverter clause, as I understand it. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Because we have reverter clauses all over the place, but apparently we never use them in many instances when there's nonprofits and et cetera. So is that reverter clause, how long will that reverter clause be in place?
Probably a question for the county attorneys, but I believe in perpetuity. So, and we will be tracking the reverter clauses in perpetuity as well.
So let me just get confirmation from the county attorneys on that. Is that correct?
Yes, Commissioner, that's correct. There's no termination date to the reverter. I did just want to clarify one thing for the record, is that the allocation of bond funds is $1,369,312. That's the amount of money that's being proposed to be conveyed.
That's almost $4 million more than what I thought it was. I mean, $400,000 more than what I thought it was, I guess. Okay, all right, thank you. Does CASD require this property at all or no?
they've never occupied the facility, and they've advised that no, they have no use, but they do coordinate directly with the not-for-profit agency.
So Kazi's never, they just cooperate. They've never been co-tenants or anything along those.
That's correct.
You know, my concern is and will continue to be that when we are dealing even with nonprofits, we have to be consistent on the process. And if somebody's unable to pay, they can have an explanation. But when I hear that from the year 2017, almost the inception, the terms that were agreed to are not being fulfilled almost from the beginning, you know, that's very disconcerting. I'm probably going to be supportive of this because the sponsor, it's in his district, but I'm having a real, and I would have the same problem if it was in my district, by the way. I think that, and you know, I applaud my colleagues for trying to help the nonprofits and doing the right thing, because there's an effort to make sure that, you know, a community receives services. And I know one of my colleagues done a fantastic job with this organization. But the point is, and this is really, really, really disconcerting, that it could have been any organization. If from 2017, somebody's not keeping their end of the bargain, this is the year 2025. And I'm just concerned that this continues to happen over and over. Who is monitoring this stuff? Why are we not, when we have an issue, dealing with that issue right away? I mean, there's still, you heard it's 1.3 million almost now. It's not even, I thought it was 975,000, but it's actually 1.3. There's still dollars that come from the rest of the community. And I just think as we move forward in looking at how to reform this government to make it more efficient, there shouldn't be an exclusion for entities that may be or not be nonprofits and may actually be providing a positive service. But if there are rules, then let's make sure that we, as a government, make sure that everybody follows the rules. And that's my real consternation with this item. Again, because my colleagues, it's in his district, and I'm going to trust his judgment, I'm going to vote for it. But moving forward, I'm going to be very specific on trying to make sure that the rules as are set need to be followed. If they're not being followed, tell us why they're not being followed. But it shouldn't be an automatic, let's call it, just ignoring the process as it goes through, where we don't, you know, something pops up years later. And I got to tell you, 2017 is a long time ago, you know, 8 years. I don't think Commissioner Higgins was, well, maybe I don't remember if she might have, I don't think she was here yet, and she was the one that's been here the longest. So I hope that as we move forward with some of these things, you don't just, I'm going to say you, I don't mean you per se, but I hope the administration makes sure that it keeps us all informed. And you know, sometimes you got to make tough decisions, even with good people. And with that, that's all I have to say.
Through the chair, if I could just add one important point, sir.
You may.
So while I can't answer for the past, moving forward, sir, we do have the PCAT report that I know you were one of the champions of. So all of these cases, whether it be conveyances to a not-for-profit or otherwise, and leases, active leases, so any non-compliance issues would be reported in that report, as well as what the administration has done to bring those parties into compliance. So on a recurring basis, every quarter, you will see that. So moving forward, sir, you have my word that these will be tracked and presented to you.
All right, so there's a motion by, I still have commissioners, I've pulled it, but Commissioner Gilbert moves the item, seconded by the Vice Chair. Commissioner Regalado, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you. And I just have some questions for the maker. Like my colleague, J.C. Bermudez, I trust Kian. He always does his homework. I just, clearly this has been floating around for some time. My concern is I do not believe that we are in the financial situation to be giving away county assets. And I think that moving forward, we need to establish a set policy in that if we are to be providing office space for nonprofits, that office space should be within housing buildings. Because, I pulled it up. I mean, I think we should tear it down and do housing there, right? And give them a space. I mean, in Platform, I'm in an office where it used to be a county space for social services and CASD and the state of Florida, and now it's housing. And we have some space there. The state of Florida has some space there, always empty, by the way. I think I think that given our limited portfolio, I think we should really focus on that. I understand that people need to be somewhere, and it appears that they've been here for a long time. And when you look at the building, you can see that it clearly needs some help. I just don't know if we're throwing good money after bad. And maybe what we should be considering is a demo of this and something different. Because office space is office space, right? Office space is office space. And I think what we need to be focusing on as a board is providing housing. And I try to do it in every nook and cranny, that I can find in my district, and I know, Keon, that you do the same. And I think that we're at a point where we should task the administration to look at these buildings and come back with us and say, is housing possibility? I don't think that we should have these standalones. I can tell you in my district, we house a lot of nonprofits. The only ones that are not sharing space with anyone are the ones that are in historic buildings. Everyone else is like shacked up with somebody else, doing something else, sharing space. I just want to hear from the commissioner in terms of kind of your due diligence on this. And look, we talk about nonprofits. Obviously, we want to support them. Obviously, they provide services. We have so many of them. If we had a building for every nonprofit that asks us for one, we just house nonprofits, right? That's a reality here in Miami-Dade County, and we appreciate the work that we're doing, and we fund the work that they do. But in terms of land, which we do not own a lot of, I just think that we should at least consider that, and I don't know if that's something that's not possible on this site, or maybe that's something that would be possible later on in this site, But if they're investing in fixing the building, right, where does that put us in terms of using that site for something else?
Commissioner Regalado, was that a question? Or? Okay. Commissioner Hardeman.
I'd like to first start with saying that Miami-Dade County is probably one of the worst landlords that exist in Miami-Dade County. If you wanted to describe a slumlord, I'm sure in many ways we could find ourselves in that position. When you talk about the amount of land that we have for housing, for instance, I think the only other district that probably has just as much land available for housing to be built will be Keone McGee's district, besides mine, right? If you go into my district, you'll find a huge swath of uninhabited, county-owned land that is the graveyard for previous housing. I don't know if a meeting passes where someone from the district doesn't come back to us and say, hey, we should reopen this site, we should reopen that site. We have in my district, just my district alone, you possibly have the potential for maybe, I don't know, I don't think I would be exaggerated if I said 20,000 housing units just in the way that we build today, right? And so everyone knows that one of the things that I advocate for is additional housing, not just affordable. When I say affordable housing, meaning everything from ELI, extremely low income, to to the other extreme, which is for profit, right? So market rate housing, I need it in my district. But I also recognize the fact that you can't just continue to build housing in certain places. You need commercial space. You need this. You need that. And so, I try to be very careful about how I consider certain areas and how we bring about housing. This board, for instance, we just recently approved the item that's going to bring a new train stop to the area around 75th Street, just east of 7th Avenue, 5,000 housing units there, plus some commercial things. We successfully opened up the Block 55, which is probably our first affordable housing development I would say in Miami-Dade County. If I'm wrong, you can correct me, but this has to be the first affordable housing senior luxury site that includes not just tenants like Target, so these are quality tenants, but also a corporation that is internationally known, which is MSC. I mean, we did that in affordable housing. If you look at every other affordable housing site that we have, at least in my district, probably in others as well, the bottoms of those buildings are vacant. We have these affordable housing developers that come, they build the housing, but they say, oh, we're going to leave the bottom for commercial, but they don't make it available to the people to actually use it. For some of our structures that we've even given government grants for, they routinely deny people the ability to be in those spaces because they don't want commercial tenants. So much so that during the pandemic, if you all remember, there was an item that came up where they wanted to convert the bottom of those to housing, and I fought against that, and thankfully this board agreed with me, as this was an attack on the neighborhoods that need sort of commercial development. I say all that to say that in this space where this organization is, this is not a promise that I broke, and I think that they would, if the organization I'm sure has representation here, but I don't want it to be sort of combative with the county. But we broke some promises there. The reason that they weren't paying wasn't because, as I understand, that they couldn't pay. There was a disagreement as to if they were supposed to be paying or not. The original, I guess, thought about all of this was that Cosley would have some space, but mainly this space would be occupied by this organization. And then what happens is that there's also some legislation that's drafted that is supposed to give them the ability to have that space without cost. And that's most of our organizations that we've given space to have done it at $1 a year and things of that nature. So this is not something that is unheard of. And so, yeah, they end up having an accumulation of these dollars or this amount of money. And as I understand, they did a little bit more to actually cure that, but they did it in a way to ensure, but they were present. The county wasn't investing into the property the way that it should. It ended up in disrepair. And then so there's this promise that this property was going to be transferred to them. There's evidence of this. All of this happens before I become the District 3 commissioner. When I became a District 3 commissioner, I inherited a lot of just mess. That's the best way to describe it. It's complete mess as it pertains to properties that were not properly well maintained, properties that were out of compliance, which means that they did not have any existing lease agreements, properties where entities weren't living up to their contractual requirements. And so it took up to this point, because this was one of those entities that had that issue, where I said, okay, what are we going to do to properly address this? And this became the best solution for it. I think part of the reason that I'm willing to do it in this way is because, one, this space was never shared with any other organization. It wasn't shared with Miami-Dade County. Miami-Dade County was obviously the owners of the property. But the space where it is the northeastern part of my district, which is a space that is lacking when it comes to county services, county buildings, county presence. And so most of the entities that we help, they're usually in my urban core. This is just, as I would describe, just outside of my urban core. But the population that they serve, that area is where they live and where they travel to. And so it's important when you have an organization such as this that has a historical sort of significance in helping the population of people that have been disregarded, that need help, that are important in our county society, but they don't have a specific place for them to go. This has been that space. Even if they come here, if you have someone who comes into this space and they need assistance, and who is it that they speak to? Who is it that's going to help them with the various degrees of issues that they have? Which floor? I still haven't visited every floor of this building. So which floors do they visit? How do they get there? So I just think that there's a lot that is lacking when it comes to Miami-Dade County and how we go about sort of helping those who are needing it the most within our districts. And as far as an organization, and when I look at, as far as an organization that does that very well, I think this is one of them. Furthermore, to come to some sort of conclusion so we can have a dialogue about this if we should decide to. At the end of the day, I think Miami-Dade County made a mess of this circumstance. And an organization and its members and the people that it serves are the people that suffer because of it. And of all the assets that we have in Miami-Dade County, in my district particularly, that we could use, for instance, for housing, I think that it of course could, but it is the least likely sort of one to be considered, because I can direct you to a place that has literally tens of thousands of acres, of square footage that can do it, that we haven't done it with, where we just have ghost lands of property and potential for people to be there. What we need is to move forward, yes, on building housing. I have the land to do it. I'm asking it not to be at this site. I'm asking this board to approve this so that we can continue providing the services that we provide in our district for a group of people that absolutely need it. And that goes from that. This organization serves everyone from children to adults, and of any time where a time where you want to actually give someone a permanent home in order to fulfill their mission under this administration in our federal government, now is the time. Now is the time that people need a place that they can actually go visit and find a home and know that the place that they're seeking refuge is a place that's available to them, and they will have in perpetuity. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I appreciate that. Thank you for the clarification. My only addition to that would be, I know that there's a reverter for the conveyance if they stop doing this work. Does that include redevelopment of the site? So in the future, right, could there be a redevelopment of the site? And as long as they do some of this work, right, they would continue. And I understand what you're saying. Right now, maybe it's not feasible. But 10 years from now, a conveyance is a conveyance. So I think, would you be open to, if they do redevelop this site, I think they should pay back the bond. Something should happen there, right? There should be something if they redevelop the site. If they're just using it and they're providing services, fantastic. But if this turns into a real estate deal, then that's a different conversation.
I don't mind that sort of provision. I would actually welcome if an organization has land that they can redevelop and still maintain themselves as part of that building, and they can also give back to Miami-Dade County for having their land, gifted to them. And for that, I will welcome an amendment like that gives them that sort of ability. I mean, at the end of the day, we want to give them a place to be, but income helps them be self-sustaining, which means that in the future we don't necessarily have to give them that sort of money in the future. So I'm fine with that if you were proposing that sort of amendment.
Yes, I would propose it. I think to the attorneys, if there is a potential redevelopment of this site, that the conveyance allows that, as long as they continue within that redevelopment, they have space to continue doing county services. I don't know if you want to have them give the money, give a portion to the county, or if you want them to do housing. What do you think? I mean, it's your neighborhood. You know it better. I'm just saying, if you were to envision it, if a developer comes and knocks on their door and says, I saw you got this conveyance, right?
No, I think the service that you would provide is housing.
Exactly.
Because that's the service that probably the people who are coming to the community, who are lacking in the community, would need. I mean, when you talk about families, you want to be able to put families in places where they can lay their head to be safe at night. That's the first need that we have, is to have shelter. So I'm fine with it being that. But now housing nowadays allows mixed use, so it allows some commercial at the bottom, and that's why that's where they can continue to maintain their services. So I'm fine with that way.
As long as they could redevelop, as long as, number one, they continue providing the services that they provide now in the current building, and two, they provide housing, and that some component of that housing is affordable housing as defined by Miami-Dade County Code.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Hardiman, were those terms acceptable to you with friendly amendments?
They are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, would you like to call the question, Commissioner?
You have other
We have other comment too. Commissioner Cohen-Higgins?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I have a couple of questions, just kind of trying to understand the item, and thank you to the sponsoring commissioner for the explanation that he provided. Is this building currently being occupied by the nonprofit that this conveyance is proposing to gift the property to? Are they currently active in the space right now?
Yes.
Why is the conveyance necessary in order for them to continue? Why is this item necessary? Haven't they been providing the service since 2017? Is COSD threatening to come in and evict them from the space? Why is this conveyance necessary, and how will it in any way inhibit their ability to provide the services to the community?
Well, the first is that, as was stated on the record, since 2017 they've been in this space. There's been some disagreement, with the organization and with Miami-Dade County as to whether or not they were supposed to be paying a rent. And even if they were paying a rent, there was a conveyance that was negotiated between the organization and Miami-Dade County before I became a board member. And so so they've been there necessarily out of compliance, in fear that they were always going to be evicted. By the time I become commissioner, it becomes a matter of concern, because most of the organizations that have come and asking for space in the spaces that I sort of control, I've asked for a nominal rent. I don't necessarily just do dollar rents and things of that nature. And so particularly this organization because they had some back rent, they also, one of the conditions that I thought was necessary through the county attorney's office was that they began paying on part of their back rent. So this is not something they just kind of laid to the side and kind of just said nothing about it. They paid about $215,000 back to the county. That's how they reduced the number to what it is today, that $140,000, which I thought was good effort, for an organization that is dependent on grants in order for them to move forward. And so the reason why it becomes important for them to be able to continue in the space and instead of in a rental sort of capacity is because when I look at the rising cost of real estate in that area particularly, that's an area that is heavily populated by the Haitian community, and many of our assets that we have in Miami-Dade County that are sort of Haitian specific, that are not in Little Haiti, they're there. But they have also been purchased by private entities, redone in ways where the community doesn't have access, or they don't have the access to the space like they used to have. And so in order for an organization like this to continue moving forward, they have to have some sort of permanence. In my district, the number of organizations that ask me for space is incredible. I mean, ever since I was in the city of Miami, you had organizations asking me for space. The majority of the space that I've had, if I've ever given space, has always been for a specific task. That would either be, most of them are for economic development, which is going to be, trying to bring new business into the space. The other will be housing, right? And then also then for cultural sort of concerns, which is how, for instance, this board is going to be a part of changing the Women's Annex Prison on 14th Street to a modern arts museum. I mean, these are the things that we try to do to make sure the community does better. So in this particular circumstance, I do envision it to be, I wouldn't mind it being housing, but most importantly, it needs to have a permanent space for this organization to be able to render its services. I don't know of any other space that you can go to for this population in Miami-Dade County to get the services that it gets from an organization like this. I mean, this is just a niche that exists and has existed for now decades. The only other organization I can think of to that magnitude would be something like VAO And that has, over the years, dwindled in its sort of significance in the power that it has within the community. The one thing I would say about this organization is that it's maintained itself throughout the test of time, but I know it hasn't been easy because I've supported them since I was in the city of Miami. So here we are with this opportunity, and I'm saying, if you take 2 steps, I'll take 3 for you. And I think this is my attempt to taking 3 steps to ensure that we have the continuity of services for this organization, and at least the promise that there's a brighter future if they continue doing the right thing. However, if they do not, if they stop providing this service, if they violate this agreement, we have a new department that is more keen on these issues, and the property comes back to Miami-Dade County. So you just have to do that. I know there's no other person on this day that knows like I do, where the county has not exercised its reverter clauses when they should have. And they don't do it over a number of years. That causes a lot of heartburn because I'm going to have to make tough decisions about what I choose to do with those properties. In this case, I think that the best thing to do was to bring it back to the board to make some action, and I'm asking for you to help me with this action. It seems like a large property, but it's really not, especially in the grand scheme of the amount of property that we have in the district specifically for this purpose.
Thank you for answering that question. And actually, your explanation provides me with greater clarity because knowing that they're there and they're providing the service, and obviously we all hope that they continue to provide the service because there's no question that this organization does incredible work in and for our community. I'm still not sure why the item doesn't ask for just a waiver of the rent and a new lease agreement for 10 years or for 20 years or so on and so forth. But the item doesn't stop at just let's waive $140,000 in back rent. It conveys $1 million property on 10,000 square foot lot that's owned by Miami-Dade County. And then there is $1.4 million provided to them for repairs, improvements, and upgrades. And so what you articulated still doesn't explain to me why it is that they need as much as what is being provided in this particular item. And my concern is regarding the same thing I say all the time on this dais regarding our financial ability as a county and the fact that we are entering into extraordinarily tight budget times. And we have a lot of nonprofits, and you're absolutely right, Commissioner. We all get asked for nonprofits to provide space where we can. My concern is for the nonprofits that are watching right now that are paying their rent and what this message sends to those nonprofits. And if we have one nonprofit that is not paying $140,000 in back rent, and this is the item that is as a result, how many additional nonprofits are going to follow suit? That's my concern. So that if we have other properties owned by the county that are being occupied and rent is being paid by nonprofits, if I'm a nonprofit, I'm not going to pay rent anymore. Why would I? Why would I pay rent? I'm concerned about that precedent. If you can speak to that, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Because what I know we can't afford in Miami-Dade County is to send the message that if you enter into a lease with us, whether it's for a nonprofit, whether it's a concessionaire at our airport, or any other asset owned by our county, which is owned by the residents of our county, that we are going to not only waive that contractual obligation, but we're going to give you the property and give you a $1.4 million bump in order to do improvements on it. I need to understand that justification to help me get there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman.
You recognize.
Thank you. To start off with, the amount of money that was supposed to be invested into the property was something that was already approved of and should have been invested into the property. But in great Miami-Dade County fashion, we didn't do it. We didn't make the investment. And so this is an organization that still was in that building in disrepair without the investment that Miami-Dade County promised and bonded for. And so the dollars are just saying, hey, the investment in the building should still occur. If you don't, this board doesn't have to make the investment, and this organization will have to go out and seek funding to do it. But every budget cycle, we give organizations tons tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes millions, to make investment in their property, in our property, and it's just something that we do. I mean, I could think off the top of my head money that has been provided aside to fix roofs for buildings that we don't even own, that we occupy and Miami-Dade County own. I'm sorry, and the school board owns. So in regard to the money that we're saying is for the building, this statement is just saying that we Miami-Dade County shouldn't shirk the responsibility of continuing to invest into the space, because that's what they promised, right? Additionally, this organization is not just, not paying any rent. Right now, they operate out of this site, and then they have another site in Miami Gardens. I think in Miami Gardens, they're paying about $14,000 a month in rent. And the $4,000 a month, and the reason that you go from the $300,000 to the $140,000 is because the organization is paying $4,000 a month towards the amount that was in arrears. So they've been contributing back, because I had the same sort of concern. How is it that if you had this issue, why is it then that you have to show some sort of good faith towards making us Miami-Dade County whole before I even consider anything like this? Because I know most of the time, any of my new organizations that are coming in, they are paying their rent. The problem that I have is that this is an agreement that I inherited. This is an agreement that was in district, it was in poor shape before I became a county commissioner. This is not something where I'm negotiating on the front end, trying to make good of it. The Miami-Dade County, if it were to keep this building, for instance, it would cost us more, right? Because we would continue having to maintain it. We would continue to have to invest into the property. We would continue, and we would most likely still have this organization being in that site, unless you want to evict them, and I don't think that that's what any of us want to do. And so, if we want to talk about it, just in my district, it may not be in your district, but it just in my district, the amount of property that we have that is in disrepair, that doesn't get the attention that it deserves, and here we are with an organization that is in this facility that obviously Miami-Dade County didn't want to move into for one reason or another. And then when asked during the surplusing stage, they said that no, we don't want to be a part of this. And so I think that in this narrow circumstance, I don't like to look at all organizations when you're talking about one, because this particular organization has a particular history, has a particular agreement with the county, has a particular disagreement, if you will, and this is an effort to clean it up. If you said to me, well, Commissioner, that extra $140 that they have in rent, I think they should pay that back, then I think we can do that. I don't mind doing that either, because the idea was for them to come current in the first place. But you could imagine it's a very difficult thing for any organization to do, let alone an organization that serves a population like it does and gets its funding from the way that it does, like through the Children's Trust, that it would be difficult for them to make do and also make that obligation, but they've been doing it. And so if you, for instance, wanted to make a change to that and say, well, look, I think it's best, like, I don't mind doing this, but they should continue having to make the payment on that debt, then, and then that's something I will have to consider.
Commissioner Hardiman, I appreciate that, and that would make me feel a lot better, because a contract is a contract, and what I don't want is our phones to ring. And you're right, this particular organization is uniquely situated, and I know is extraordinary and special for a number of reasons, so I'm not trying to compare it to all other CBOs. I frequently come from a pure perspective of dollars and cents, and I see this asset that's being conveyed as being an asset that belongs to the residents of Miami-Dade County. I don't feel comfortable with us sitting as a board in granting that conveyance with a debt outstanding. It just doesn't sit well with me for a number of obvious and blatant reasons. So if you are amenable to amending your item to say to this organization, come current on what you owe to the county, make good on the debt that you owe, then absolutely I'm going to support that, because we convey properties to nonprofits in our district at our discretion all the time. And that's good work that's, you being, whatever, for the good work that you do in our community. If your district commissioner supports it, I would never get in the way of that. But $140,000, I'm concerned, as I've stated previously, about the floodgates that opens and the precedent that it sets and the problems that it may cause for us as a county financially moving forward, particularly in what we are about to learn is a very serious budget situation that is on our hands. I need the vendors of Miami-Dade County to pay their bills when their bills come due and not come to the board asking for all of these different things to happen all the time, which we've seen many times before. The message needs to be sent by this board that if you sign a contract with this county, you need to pay those debts. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I don't know if you're amenable to that, but that would get me there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I have a lot of fingers, and I'll come back to you, but it's a lot of fingers and see what happens.
Right. Vice Chair, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Chairman, my remarks are very brief. Number one, I support this item. Number two, it's within the commissioner's district, and I follow his lead as it relates to his district. He understands his district more than any of us up here. Number three, we talk about sending messages all the time, and the message that has been sent and that continuously is being sent is the fact that we have forgotten about our Haitian community. This organization in and of itself sits in the heart of that community, knows that community, serves that community, provides for that community, and is the resource base for that community. Lastly, Mr. Chairman, we talk about promises and now being in a position to help move the needle forward as it relates to not-for-profit organizations in our community. But the truth of the matter is, if it were not for these not-for-profit communities and organizations, government would not be able to provide for so many people and so many organizations that have gone without. It is my humble opinion that because of not-for-profit organizations, we are in a better position, because if we had to depend on government to do it, chances are it's not going to be done. Commissioner Hardiman brought up the fact that in District 9, in his district, there are a bunch of eyesores due to the fact that there has been much neglect carried out, not by this administration, but by previous administrations. What we see here in this form of this item in 5W is our way of saying, let's correct the past deferrals of these projects within these communities. Let's give a helping hand to a social service program that has given so much but received so little. And lastly, Mr. Chairman, again, this organization being uniquely situated to serve a population that has gone without major resources from traditional funders, I think we're sending the right message, and that message is simple. If you provide for the community, if you do it in a way that makes sense and you can show the results, then it is incumbent upon us to reward results. I can't speak to the issue in the past as it relates to debt and as it relates to whether or not monies were paid, or there was a misunderstanding of whether or not there was a $1 agreement versus no money agreement. But what I can attest to, and many of us on this dais can attest to, is the fact that this organization in of itself has the results to support its position. And by elevating this conversation to allow for them to have this building, it gives them even more an investment now, because what's going to end up happening is more attention is going to be paid to this particular building, which will now spruce up the community around it by helping the property values over there. And lastly, let's just talk about this. It's not as if this building is going to house 2,000 units, 3,000 units, 4,000 units. We're talking about a space, I believe, Commissioner Hardiman, about 10,000 square feet of a building, square feet, and we're talking about an area that, again, hasn't seen major capital improvement for years. And had not this commissioner brought this particular item, there's a very strong likelihood that another 10 years would have passed and no attention would have been given to that particular situation, that particular district. And I do not believe that districts are similarly situated. There is no similar situated district out of all 13. When you walk in the South District, it's totally different than districts in 1, 5, 9, 7, whatever. But the truth of the matter is, it is not fair to compare districts as it relates to the resources and how we ought to deal with that particular district, whether it's with resources, whether with conveyance, or whether it's with love and just tender care. So I'm in full support of this. I think this is a great idea, and thank you to the commissioner for bringing it.
Commissioner Gilbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Hardeman, thank you for bringing the item. I'm supportive of the item. I'm supportive of the item as is. And let me just say, Commissioner Hardeman referenced it when he said he thought the county might have been wrong. This is a lot messier on the back end before any of us got here between the organization and what they thought was happening and the county back then and what they thought was happening. It's a lot messier than that. This actually cleans this up. And I can appreciate it. Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, I appreciate your position. As a general rule, I don't disagree with you, but I think that you have to consider the context generally. I consider how messy it was, because this came before me when I was the chairman. I considered how messy it was back then and how this is a very elegant solution that allows a good organization that's doing good work for people to actually continue to go forward. You know, it's interesting that we sit here. I'm just one of 13, but 13 collectively, we're representative of this community. We give money, and it really is all basically the same money, to a lot of organizations. None of them are similarly situated to each other. We all the time consider their specific requests, their specific situations. We do it all the time. And so I don't see this as being any different. This is a commissioner saying that this works best for his community. It's an organization that has done really good things, because if you had a place for this population to go and they could get help no matter what it was, they don't know to come to the 111 building. No matter what it was, someone to help. And I think this solution helps us help people. And I'm going to support it.
Commissioner Higgins.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Commissioner Hardeman, for bringing this item for an organization that has for decades proven itself a source of support for our Haitian American neighbors. And there's no time when that support is needed more than right now. We know that housing costs are on the rise. We know food costs remain high and continue to go higher. And of course, there's been rhetoric that is really horrific in anti-immigrant sentiments, which do affect our Haitian American neighbors. So an organization like FAM is doing work that is crucial, it is necessary, and there are many other not-for-profits which we support that do similar work in similar neighborhoods. And I agree with you, Commissioner Gilbert, that everyone is different, and this one is particularly different. But let's just talk about dollars and cents here. First of all, a big chunk of the money is actually just a swap, right? We had one GOB account that was supposed to be for Haitian American Community Center. That money was spent, except that there's some savings in there. Well, clearly the voters selected it to be for a Haitian American Community Center, and I can think of no other place that does just that better than FAM. So all we're doing is swapping that into another GOB number so that we could use that to upgrade the facility. I did something different. I did something very similar in my district with the Miami Beach Community Health Center. It was an aging building. We needed to do some roof repairs, and we were able to do that so that facility could continue to provide medical treatment to thousands of low-income and uninsured residents. What I can promise you is if we keep this building in Miami-Dade County, it needs to be repaired. It needs major construction work. What I know, since another one of my GOB projects, the Miami-Dade County Auditorium, is when we use our GOB money and we do the project, it has to go through a horrifically long procurement process, which takes 2 years to award a contract. Then it has to come to the board. And in this case, Commissioner Hardiman, congratulations, because you're going to get this building repaired for less money and less time. And the conveyance, whether we convey or we do these things with a very long lease, like normally we're doing 99-year leases, right? Which is a way to say we're not conveying property, but we really are conveying property, because if we don't do those long leases, these organizations can never get financing for anything else. They want to buy a new air conditioner 10 years from now. They can't get a loan for it because they don't know if they have a long-term lease. So our option would be, are we giving them a 99-year lease or are we giving them a conveyance? Functionally, it's the same thing. What I can tell you is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is through this conveyance process, CASD is no longer, we are no longer responsible for fixing anything in the future, making any maintenance upgrades. Is that correct?
As I understand, yes.
Okay. So I think this is this is an organization that is vital. It helps people in a way that is closer to where they live and less expensive than if we did it themselves. If FAM went away, we would have to be providing those services, and we're not the most cost-effective organization, as Commissioner Danielle Cohen-Higgins pointed out so admirably. This is a place that does a lot of work for not a little, at a much more cost-effective manner than we could do it. And they need a place to do that work, and they need a place to do that work in the neighborhood where folks live. Am I happy that they get behind on rent? Should their rent have ever been $4,000 a month? No, right? That's ridiculous to have a not-for-profit paying for that for, a falling apart building that needs fixing. But when I ask myself the question, would I rather have those back rent payments? Yeah, if this were some fancy pants for-profit organization, I would say yes. But I am trading off services to human beings when I take that rent, rather than saying, FAM, we're going to forgive this for you one time. You're going to repair this building perfectly so you provide better services to people, and we're going to let you use that $140,000 to serve our community. Commissioner Hardiman, I support your item as it is written.
Commissioner from District 7.
Thank you. I just want to clarify a few things. I think we have to be really careful when we make some of these statements. I can tell you that in my district, when a tenant has not paid the county rent, we move to evict. I don't know what happens in everybody else's district, but in my district, we move for eviction like on 30 days. So I think the point as to not all districts are the same is an important point to be made. And I think it's also important to consider that if the county decides not to exert its legal right when rent is not paid, that is a decision that the administration made. And I would love to hear from the administration why they made that decision. But for us to say that we want people to know that they have to pay their rent and they have to pay their bills, my understanding is that they pay their rent and they pay their bills, at least in my district. If there's an issue, I think we need to take that up with the administration. My understanding from this item is that they were told, because of the lack of repair, that it was an offset. And I don't know if the administration wants to speak to that, but that was my understanding. And that's just basic property law. I mean, I taught business law, I taught property law, I taught legal writing. You have the right to withhold rent if you are due certain repairs and the conditions are not what your lease says that it is. So if that was the decision, I would like to know that, just so that we have some clarity, right? Separate and then apart from that, I don't think that we're projecting messages in the sense that all of a sudden, because we vote on this, then people are not going to pay their bills. So I start off by saying that we are in a difficult situation and that we should be very cautious with county assets. which is why I spoke specifically to the redevelopment. That being said, the attorneys have told me that this conveyance moves under a statutory vehicle. So if we could explain that statutory vehicle, because I think that would give us all a little bit of some comfort. It would give us some comfort. So to the attorneys, if they could explain the statutory vehicle, because the items just mentions it, but if you can explain kind of what happens if there was a redevelopment. Right now we have, when they got the building, they were supposed to get this bond money to fix the building. They were using the building. The bond money was not allocated. The building was not fixed. The rent was not paid because the building was not fixed. Now we're looking at, should the building be fixed and what happens with the rent? Where are we statutorily on the conveyance?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. This is being conveyed under Florida statute, section 125.38, which is a statute that allows the county to either lease or convey property to a governmental entity or to a not-for-profit for community interest and welfare. And it could be leased or conveyed for a nominal amount and for below fair market value, which is what's happening here. And that same kind of restriction that the statute requires be in place for community interest and welfare is in the deed. And the deed is pretty broad in terms of what they could do with the property. And it's to provide social services. And it says including housing assistance, immigration support, healthcare access, legal aid, and educational programs to low to moderate income families, which is our understanding the services they're providing today.
But they have to provide it. If they sublease, if they find someone else, what happens? What triggers there?
So they can always come back to the board if it's another not-for-profit, so the board can make additional findings, but there is a restriction in the deed, which is consistent with how we do all of these conveyances, that they can't transfer it to another entity without the county's consent. And there's no prohibition on them doing construction or redevelopment consistent with the allowed uses. So if they're ever wanted to expand or do something else with that, they can always come back to the board to have the deed and the restrictions amended, and that's also, this board has also approved revisions in the past.
So Commissioner, taking that into consideration, what I would say is, if they redevelop, it just has to come back to us in terms of the housing. I mean, if they're doing, right? I mean, I think it has to come back to us anyway, right? So
I agree to your friendly amendment. So, I mean, I think that should already be captured in what is going to be presented as a final resolution for us to consider. The only other, the friendly amendment that was being proposed is by Commissioner Corn-Higgins. And so, Commissioner Corn-Higgins, I would like your support. And I trust me, when Commissioner Gilbert says this thing was a lot messier, I mean, this started under his leadership when he was the chairperson. And so he's right. There's something I've been mulling over in one way or another for a very long time. And I understand what you're saying. Sometimes I think we can find ourselves doing it either way. I've done something in my district that I'm very proud of when it comes to endowment funds for institutions, for organizations. Today, we created an endowment fund with your vote for Miami Northwestern Senior High School students and graduates for college, right? We've done the same thing for Florida Memorial University. We've done the same thing for University of Miami School of Law. We've done the same thing for, did I say FAMU? Okay, for FAMU as well. So we've done that. We've also done it in a sense for Miami Country Day, Ransom Everglades, and Cushman. I think it's Cushman School. So all of these organizations that provide some sort of education in my district, when I've been from a city of Miami commissioner, now to a Miami-Dade County commissioner, I've created minimum $100,000 scholarship endowments that what they cause is that every kid that becomes a part of it, if you will, except for the primary schools, they just have a scholarship, an outright scholarship. But they, have an opportunity for a scholarship that goes in perpetuity, right? What I would like as a fair compromise is instead of necessarily paying $140,000 to Miami-Dade County, if we paid it to the Miami Foundation to start a scholarship endowment so that the kids who are raised through those programs have an opportunity to apply to college and have some sort of financial assistance with the endowment that's created that will never go away. And that's created, it's our money in Dade County, but what it would do is it would just give people greater opportunities for higher education or even a trade, right? Considering the type of population that we're dealing with. If you take that as a fair compromise, I mean, that's something I will be willing to do. So instead of it being $140,000 or so waiver, that we do a minimum, we still forgive it, but the stipulation would be for them to continue making payments, but the payments will go towards the Miami Foundation so that they can create an endowment scholarship for students who are participating in their program who now want to get further education. How do you feel about that?
Through the chair, thank you for that, Commissioner Hardiman. I'm not sure that I understand the counter proposal and whether that's going to be equal to the amount that is currently due and outstanding, or just a general.
No, we
contribution.
can. No, we can make it equal to.
Yeah, no, I'm certainly amenable to that, because I think it accomplishes the same thing. And you, as the district commissioner, if you want to, have that money go to the Miami Foundation for a cause that's important to you, that I certainly support, I think it accomplishes the same thing. So I'm certainly amenable to that, and I appreciate that compromise. I do, and I would like clarification, because the item that is before me, it reads very clearly, and it says, whereas Fan has an outstanding balance of rent in the amount of the $140,000, it in no way articulates that $140,000 was not paid because the building was uninhabitable or that there was repairs that needed to be made. So is that what is currently before us, a situation where rent was withheld because the building was uninhabitable? And if that's the case, why wouldn't that be communicated in the item?
To the
I mean,
administration?
it's one thing for us to make decisions, based on agendas that are thousands of pages. It's another thing when we hear information fly through the dais that substantially changes the situation. Because legally, if a building is provided that is not habitable, legally rent does not need to be paid. This item doesn't speak to that at all. So I need clarification on whether or not they even owe this rent to begin with. Was the building so uninhabitable that they withheld rent as a result of it, as was articulated on the record?
I don't know that I'd say uninhabitable in disrepair. In severe disrepair.
Well, again, without getting into legal standards, right? If you have a chipped roof, you don't get to withhold your rent, right? If you have a stain on the carpet, you don't get to withhold your rent. Under Florida law, you're only allowed to withhold your rent if your unit or your building is uninhabitable. So that's the question that I have, because that would provide them with the legal grounds in order to withhold their rent, which is what was articulated on the record, and that's what I would like clarification on. Because it's my understanding that they're still occupying the space and they're still providing the much needed wonderful services to the community that I hope and I fully support them continuing to provide to our community. So if I can get clarification, I would greatly appreciate it.
To the administration.
Through the chair, no, the facility has never been declared uninhabitable, and they still provide services today through that facility.
Thank you for clarifying that. And to the sponsoring commissioner, I'm happy to support your counter proposal to my amendment. Like I said, I think it accomplishes everything and, in my opinion, sends the right message to our residents and to the community. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Are you all chairing, or are you guys are you chairing? Everybody chairing? So, and thank you, Commissioner, for that, because I had some uneasiness, but I'm trying to get there as well. I have a question, and I don't know that I just didn't see it also in the item. I do think that we should have repaired this building on time, but to your point, there's no surprise. My question is, the 1.4, I don't know, to the administration or to the commissioner, the 1.4 for these repairs, how is this given to them? Like, is it, like, I've never done an insurance claim, right? But I understand when you do an insurance claim, they kind of do draws as you do the repair. Is this how it goes, or is it a blank check? I mean, how does the how do we make sure that the repairs are completed? Is there a stipulation as to the timeline of that?
Mr. Chairman, The funds that are being allocated for capital improvements are from the Building Better Communities General Obligation Bond Program. And the program requires that it be done on a reimbursement basis. So the administration can speak to more specifically what they ask before they make the reimbursement, but it is on a reimbursement basis.
Awesome. I love that. All right. So between that and the friendly amendment, I can support this item.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Regalado.
I have a question to the attorneys. In the lease agreement that the rent is due, did it speak to, because I saw the lease agreement, did it speak to the repairs that the county was making?
I'd have to take a closer look, but again, we assumed this lease agreement from the prior owner of the property. And so it wasn't necessarily the county's lease agreement. It was entered into the past, so I can look at it very quickly. And I think there was, out of the original amount of money that the board allocated, staff could talk, but I think there was over $400,000 that were spent on improvements to the property.
But did the county have a contractual obligation to repair the property?
I think as landlords, we have to provide a property that's habitable, which I think staff spoke with, but I'd have to, if you could provide me a minute to see whether the lease agreement, again, that we assumed has any specific reference to repairs that were going to be made.
But I'm not talking about habitable under the statute. I'm talking about did the lease agreement speak to that we were going to make repairs and that in part their obligation to pay rent was based on those repairs?
Okay, the question was to the administration. You can answer, and then Commissioner Gilbert. Go ahead.
Thank you,
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Chair. Commissioner Regalado and others who've raised the questions. There have been repairs made throughout the period of time. I don't have all the details, but Sonia Grice, our Director of Community Action and Human Services, can answer as to what repairs were made.
But Madam Mayor, what is being stated here is that your administration failed to collect rent, and that for whatever reason. So my only point is, was there a decision to allow the occupant to not pay rent because of the dispute with the repairs? Was that part of was there a negotiation regarding that? Or were they simply negligent? Like, did they simply decide not to pay rent?
Through the chair.
So
Not at all. Not at all. What happened was it was our understanding that the organization was trying to change the terms because they had originally understood at the time of the GOB itself that they would have ownership, and that for the last number of years they've been working on trying to accomplish that.
Commissioner Regalado, I think we went through some of this. Is it something else you're getting to? I'd like to call a question, so.
No, that's fine. I just want the administration to clarify the point.
All right. All in favor signify by saying as amended. So it's been moved as amended by Commissioner Hardiman, seconded by Commissioner Gilbert. Yes?
Sorry, just two issues. One I wanted to answer, Commissioner Regalado's.
No.
Oh,
No.
okay.
No, if you
Sorry.
need a clarification on there's a motion and a second.
Then,
And I'm calling the question.
okay, then we just want to.
We gotta do better.
On the amendment that was proposed by
That you can do.
Commissioner Cohen-Higgins and as said by Commissioner Hardman, is the agreement to pay the rent to the Miami Foundation for the endowment fund that Commissioner Hardman proposed, is that a tri-party agreement between the county, Florida Action Network, and the Miami Foundation?
So you're going to have an agreement to create a foundation with, because the money's coming from FAM. So FAM will need to have an agreement with the Miami Foundation, right? So that's a separate thing. It doesn't need our approval. But as far as what we're doing is we are de-obligating them of still having to pay that money the way we've described already in the record, but we're obligating them to pay it to the Miami Foundation to create the endowment. So what we're doing is just forgiving them for what they owe us and saying the money that you would have given us, you must now give to the Miami Foundation to start an endowment scholarship fund.
Okay, thank you for and then the next question is it a condition precedent to the conveyance of the property, Or is it supposed to be a term they have to continue to comply with that we'll put into the deed?
I don't want to make it a condition precedent. It'll be a continuing obligation. Hopefully they can make that and they can fulfill it in the short term versus in the long term.
Thank you for the clarification.
All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show the item passed. This does not need a roll call, right? No? That's what I thought. All right. Madam Attorney, what's the next? Congratulations, Commissioner. Madam Attorney, what's the next item bifurcated? 5Y?
That's one of the items that remain bifurcated from the public hearings. 5Y substitute. Or we have 5C as well.
All right, let's take up 5C by Commissioner Gilbert, right?
Correct.
Yeah, Chairman, I don't have a, well, I don't have a huge problem with this. I just want us to be clear about what we're voting on. And so whistleblower protection generally applies to people who see something, employees who see something they think is illegal and they report it and they receive special protections. I wanted us to be clear about how this affects our employees, because this extends it to the ethics code. And I don't have a problem with that necessarily, but in the practical day-to-day life of actually running a city, one of the things I noted is everybody who thinks they're about to be fired always said their bosses did something wrong. That is, and our ethics code is very, very, very broad. And so if they were then entitled to whistleblower protections, the unintended consequence of doing what I think is a very good idea might be serious employment issues for us. And so I just needed maybe somebody to speak to that. Like, how does this actually going to work? What's actually going to happen? If someone could speak to that.
The administration?
Chairman,
Commissioner Steinberg.
if I may, I believe Mr. Vasquez is here, and maybe he can answer as to why he wanted this change in the code.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the Commission. Thank you for having us and to speak to this decision, this proposal. We fully support this and as an augmentation of our current structure under the law. As many of you know, there was a significant change in Florida law where now all ethics complaints in the state of Florida must be sworn by an individual under their name, a person with personal knowledge. And so now our county employees are in this position where they have information, they have to identify themselves. And if they are not provided these protections, that is going to chill the process of bringing worthy things to our attention. And I fully understand the Commissioner's concern about what happens when someone's about to leave or someone's going to be terminated and whatnot. The Florida legislature has engaged that reality. There are burdens on people who file frivolous complaints, and individuals that are proven to have filed a frivolous complaint can have consequences borne upon them. For us, this structurally provides for within our process before our commission that if someone files a legitimate complaint and they proceed, that they know that they have some degree of protection, because now we are at the point where we say, please come forward and have no protection. This is to augment that and put us in the most viable path for the legal framework that we have.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. You have the floor.
Yeah, I understand that. And so if you could then walk me through what are the protections if the complaint is determined to be frivolous? Because from the perspective of someone who's just seeing how the system would work, right now, if those protections don't apply to, I guess, the ethics violations before the ethics code, I think that it creates that kind of gray area where people could just say something. And so I think that one of the things, and you all have a very difficult job. You have a very difficult job. And so I appreciate this, and I'm supportive of this conceptually. I just need to know how it's actually going to work. Someone comes and says, J.C. Bermudez said that he was talking to a town hall meeting, and he said that we lowered taxes by 20%. And turns out we lowered taxes by 17%. And they file an ethics complaint because he's about to fire that employee for saying something that is untrue, which is in fact an ethics violation under our code, under the Citizens Bill of Rights. And so how then would it work?
So structurally, the way it works now, Commissioner, is, and in keeping with Florida.
Microphone.
I
You're
apologize.
tall. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So structurally, the way it works now, and in keeping with Florida's law, is that complainants file their complaint. They have effectively a safe harbor where they're put on notice that if they file a frivolous complaint, that there is the capacity for the respondent to seek attorney's fees against them. And that is something that is actively occurring. And so if someone persists and doesn't withdraw their complaint, doesn't withdraw something that is frivolous, made out of animus, there is a potential consequence to them. And I think that that's how we strike this balance, Commissioner, where now there is the stick for the people, don't file frivolous things, come forward into the light. They need some protection for this to be viable, for this to have some kind of balance.
Thank you. With that, I move the item.
Thank you. Seeing the item moved, do we have a second? Seconded by Mickey Steinberg. This is an ordinance, so it's going to be a roll call vote. Any discussion before we move on to the roll call vote? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Higgins? Commissioner Regalado?
Yes.
Commissioner Steinberg? Commissioner Bastian? Commissioner Bermudez?
Yes.
Commissioner Cohen-Higgins? Senator Garcia? Commissioner Gilbert?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
4.
Commissioner Hardeman? Vice Chairman McGee?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
I vote yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right. Madam Attorney, do we have one item left bifurcated?
Yes, 5Y substitute.
Okay, we're going to take it up in just a minute, but make sure all the commissioners that are here today are present in the chamber. Is Commissioner Hardiman here? Or? All right, well, I want to take just a quick second to officially welcome, with a big round of applause, our newly appointed commissioner, Commissioner Natalie Milian Orbis, to her dais. Congratulations, Commissioner. And now some of our colleagues will pull the chair out for you to officially take your seat for the first time. All right. And without any further delay, you are now a sitting commissioner that your first task will be the mid-year budget. So with that, Commissioner Rene Garcia, you're one of the ones that bifurcated 5Y substitute.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's just to vote no. There's a couple of items in there that I don't agree with, so I'm just pulled it to vote no.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Any other? Okay, seeing that, there's a motion by Commissioner Gilbert.
Second. Move the item.
To move it, there's a second by the Vice Chair, and this is just a voice vote.
It's an ordinance.
All right, so Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Regalado? Commissioner Steinberg? Commissioner Bastian? Commissioner Bastian? Commissioner Bermudez? Commissioner Cohen-Higgins? Senator Garcia? Commissioner Gilbert?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez? Commissioner Hardeman? Commissioner Higgins?
Yes.
Commissioner Milian Orbis?
Yes.
Vice Chairman McGee?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
I vote yes.
Motion passes 9-1.
Congratulations, Commissioner. All right, Madam Attorney. I would like to make a quick motion. Has my motion been distributed to the dais?
No?
On that, on this last item that we passed, on your,
I would defer to your staff. I don't know if they've distributed.
okay. Can you read, it's fairly simple, Commissioner. It's really to the administration. If the attorney can read the motion, then if needed, I'll explain it, but it's pretty self-explanatory.
Do we have copies of it, Mr. Chair, just to?
Yeah, let's make sure that every commissioner gets a copy of it, but in the meantime, if you can read it.
Chairman Rodriguez moves to direct the county mayor or county mayor's designee to identify sufficient funds in the fiscal year 2024-2025 county budget to replenish $10.5 million into the Wage and Separation Reserve Fund, and to submit a written report to the board which sets forth the identified funding sources that will be used on or before June 23rd, 2025, so as to allow placement of the report on the July 1st, 2025 agenda of the board. Alternatively, if the county mayor or county mayor's designee does not timely submit the report, then this board directs the county mayor to include as part of her proposed budget for fiscal year 25-26 no less than $11.4 million in the countywide non-departmental expenditures for the Wage and Separation Reserve Fund.
All right, so that's the motion.
Yeah. Okay, second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Gilbert. Any debate on it? No?
No.
It just directs the administration to replenish the funds, the $10.5 million back into its original reserve account. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Show the item passed, the motion passed. All right, Madam Attorney, are we on second reading items?
Yes, we just have one. I'll read it quickly. Ordinance relating to the Rapid Transit System Development Zone, amending Chapter 33C2 and 33C 3.3 of the code, expanding the Smart Corridor subzone of the Rapid Transit Zone to encompass certain private property in the vicinity of Northwest 37th Avenue and Northwest 36th Street, located within a half mile of a public transit station, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date. That's item 7A.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Madam.
This is Commissioner Bastian's item. There's a very minor amendment that needs to be made, and she's asked I make it on her behalf. It's just changing some dates. So, Lauren, would you mind reading the amendment?
Please read the motion by Commissioner Higgins.
So Commissioner Higgins moves to amend item 7A to correct certain references in section 33C2B1 of the code as follows. 1, change the date of Exhibit 222B to February 14, 2025, as reflected in Ordinance Number 25-8. And 2, delete the erroneous reference to the date of Exhibit 34 as July 12, 2024. The proposed changes are on page MDC 008.
With that, I move the item as amended.
All right, show the item moved as amended by Commissioner Higgins, seconded by the Vice Chair. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Steinberg? Commissioner Bastian, Commissioner Bermudez, Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, Senator Garcia, Commissioner Gilbert, Commissioner Gonzalez, Commissioner Hardeman, Commissioner Higgins, Commissioner Milian Orbis, Commissioner Regalado, Vice Chairman McGee,
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
I vote yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
So the item passed. Madam Attorney, can we move into the pool list at this time?
Yes, and I also, if with your permission, I have a co-sponsorship request from Commissioner Milian Orbis. She would like to co-sponsor item 5V. Your first item on the pull list is item 11A4.
Okay, item 11A4, Commissioner from District 12. You're recognized as one of the pooling commissioners.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Well, listen, a couple things. I think it's a great idea to try to speed up the process. It's part of the things we're doing in the Government Efficiency and Transparency Committee.
This will likely go there.
Yeah, and the one thing, well, two things. And I know you'll be able to get three names from each of us, I suppose, and then you'll be able to choose from those candidates. The one thing that I would like to do for consideration, if you're open to it, is obviously to have some consideration for the commissioners proffering certain candidates. And then the second thing, the waste to energy, the task force portion, I don't have a problem with that because that's going to be I guess we're going to get so many proposals. But my concern with that would be that it not be limited to waste energy contracts, but any contract that deals with, garbage, essentially.
Right,
Because
absolutely.
we do have other, we have other facilities, we have other, and I think that should go through the same process. Those are the two things that I would, that I would hope that you consider as friendly amendments, or whichever way you want to place it.
That is definitely the intent, Commissioner Bermudez. I'd like for every commissioner to submit, if they have any preference of somebody that they'd like appointed. There is a balance, right? We're trying to encompass all sectors, A&E, construction, just different sectors. So we need like a good balance. But yes, I absolutely want to fill it with the right people, and I welcome all suggestions. Commissioner from District 7, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Some of us are working on some of these items. So my only addition, I think it's a good item. I think it'll provide some good feedback. But just so that they stay abreast of wherever we're at, right? So as new items are brought to this board, that those items are then presented to this task force, because we don't want them spinning their wheels on something that has changed. Because I know a lot of us are trying to figure it out in real time, and I think they're going to be providing some good input. But I know you're not going to slow us down on procurement. So just whatever the vehicle we want to use, just to make sure that whenever an item that would technically fall within their purview is passed at this board from this point on, that it's sent to them is the only thing that I would recommend.
Correct, and that's the intent. It's actually exactly what you said. It's instead of, because some commissioners I know have holds and legislation they're working on certain pieces of procurement, and the intent is exactly to kind of bundle that all into one full reform, and then bring that back to the board fairly expedited. But yes, it's not to go above or in a different direction. It's for that, exactly how you mentioned that. You phrased it very well. And let me just mention this task force will be, to my understanding, will be sunshined, and every commissioner will have the opportunity to be present or attend by Zoom or as they wish.
Take attendance.
And we can take attendance, sure. But yes, thank you for that recommendation. Commissioner Bermudez.
Mr. Chair, on the last one, just to be clear, is it okay to go from waste energy contracts to all solid waste contracts?
Yeah, I don't believe that the item itself refers to, I guess it makes mention of it, but it's not, this is really a procurement item, right? Like to reform procurement as a whole. Maybe it references as an example, but yes, I'm amenable to that, that one suggestion. I guess it does mention, I guess, number 7, waste energy contracts. Yeah, but solid waste solutions, I'm amenable to that amendment.
Yeah, because I think it's proper to any solid waste contract that comes.
Yeah, through procurement, yes. The idea is to reform procurement, not a specific thing that we're anticipating is coming our way. So, Commissioner Steinberg?
Yeah, no, great item, but do you foresee this being an open-ended situation, or do you have an end time frame for when you want to see recommendations brought forward by?
Yeah, no, it's definitely not an open-ended. Thank you for that question. I do anticipate this coming to a conclusion. I didn't put those dates in the item to give some flexibility, but the idea would be certainly within the next 12 to 14 months. Commissioner Higgins.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you for this item. I think one thing I know about everybody here is little by little we have all improved parts of the procurement process with our individual items. So I just want to echo Commissioner Regalato's thoughts about the ideas that are in the hopper now, that we don't wait for 14 months. So for example, I think at the next meeting, I'm bringing an item about MCC contract levels for construction, which have not been adjusted in nearly 20 years. And on our Transportation Committee, we're constantly having milling and resurfacing projects being tossed back into procurement. So the 107th Avenue fiasco in poor Commissioner Bermudez's district is caught up. North 2nd Avenue in Commissioner Hardiman's district, that, an example might be FP&L doesn't do their work. We got to repave it, and then we got to rebid it out. And so I'm hoping that things like that are simple fixes can advance as that goes along. So thank you very much for this item. I'm very supportive of it.
Thank you, Commissioner. And again, yes, to Commissioner Regalado's point and then yours, the idea is not to slow down government, is to actually streamline it. However, I will be looking at each item that comes before my desk, before I agenda individually, to make sure that it doesn't need to be part of a larger reform. But if it's a quick fix, something simple and benign, nothing's benign, but if it's a quick fix, yes, of course, we're not going to hold back anything that can make us more efficient. That's kind of the whole purpose of this, is to be more efficient. So it'd be counterproductive. All right, any other questions? Seeing none, Commissioner Bermudez, as the chair of GET, would you move this item?
Yes, so moved.
All right, it's been moved by Commissioner Bermudez, seconded by Commissioner Regalado. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Show the item passed and the task force hereby created. And then commissioners, please, if you do have recommendations on well-versed and well-equipped people that can serve on this task force and be of help, please submit that to my office. All right, is 11A5 the next one?
Yes.
All right, Commissioner from District 5, you're the pooling commissioner.
Thank you. I didn't pull 11A10, but I have similar comments. Commissioner Regalado, thank you so very much for bringing these items. Colleagues, Commissioner Regalado and I were trapped in a quagmire with 2 affordable housing large developments that we award the contract, and then somehow we're negotiating and writing the development agreement and the contract for months and months afterwards. In Broward County, when the procurement is awarded, the contract is on the very next commission meeting. And so, Commissioner Regalado, I think I've already asked to co-sponsor these, but there's zero reason. When we award the procurement, you're basically just retyping stuff. That should come to us immediately. So thank you very much for both of these items. I'm happy to co-sponsor, and I'll second your motions when you move it.
Thank you.
The item has been moved by Commissioner Regalado.
Thank you. I actually have some amendments. We went back and forth with staff on a few things. So, and just so that you know, to Commissioner Higgins' point, I did a deep dive into like 20 problem children, and this was the result. We had several items that got hung up, and this applies to both sides. I think this gives clarity to those that are submitting an RFP, because if there's a term in there that's a deal breaker, they know. And it also gives clarity for the administration, because there were some instances in which we were adding terms that I didn't agree with after the RFP process had been closed. So if the attorneys can read the amendments.
Yeah, yes, on item 11A5, Commissioner Regalado moves to amend item 11A5 to 1, expand the applicability of the resolution to include that in addition to RFPs for goods and services, the resolution's requirements also apply to qualitative solicitations for professional services and design-build contracts subject to Section 287.055 of the Florida statutes. 2, specify that the requirements of the resolution apply to only RFPs or qualitative solicitations where the contract awards are subject to board approval or ratification. 3, clarify that complete draft contract shall be attached to the RFPs, solicitations subject to the requirements of the solicitation. 4, amend Section 4 of the resolution to specify that the county mayor or county mayor's designee shall post a draft contract and draft RFP or solicitation for comments from outside industry and vendors during the procurement and re-procurement planning process. Therefore, Section 2 of the resolution and pages MDC 005 and MDC 006 of the resolution shall be amended to read as follows. Section 2, this board directs the county mayor or county mayor's designee to include a complete draft contract and an RFP or any qualitative solicitation for the acquisition of goods and services, professional services subject to Section 287.055 of the Florida statutes, or design-build services subject to Section 287.055 of the Florida statutes, which allows for little or no negotiation or modifications to contractual terms if the contract is subject to board approval or ratification. To the extent that the RFP or qualitative solicitation shall allow certain contract items to be negotiated, the RFP or solicitation shall, 1, identify which contractual terms may be negotiated, 2, define the scope of what can be and cannot be renegotiated or the identified negotiable contract terms, 3, include proposed county terms for the negotiable terms, 4, require that the vendor in its response to the RFP or solicitation disclose the issues it has with the negotiable terms, and 5, disclose and describe to the board in the award recommendation which contract terms were modified and negotiated and how. Notwithstanding, no terms that materially alter the original RFP or the vendor's original proposal shall be negotiated or incorporated into the final contract. Section 4 of the resolution on page MDC 006 of the resolution shall be amended to read as follows. Section 4, this board directs the county mayor or county mayor's designee to post a draft contract along with the draft RFP or qualitative solicitation for comments from outside industry and vendors during the procurement and re-procurement planning process for contract awards subject to board approval or ratification. This board further directs the county mayor, county mayor's designee, and their sole discretion to incorporate comments and feedback from outside industry and vendors in the final contract and RFP or solicitation prior to the advertisement of any competitive solicitation advertised after the effective date of this resolution. Title and recital clauses of the resolution will be amended to conform to the motion and amendments.
Thank you. So we were up late with Namita last night. So these were some of the clarifications that staff wanted, but they remain completely in line with the item, right? They just wanted some specification. We want the draft instead of the terms. So some of it is good, and they actually wanted to expand it, which I'm all for. But the idea is we're not adding terms. You know, it's going to be out there. These are the terms. Obviously, staff is going to take a little bit of time. We do some of this, but now we're doing for almost everything, which I think will really be helpful and will allow us to negotiate at what I believe will be a reasonable time, as opposed to spending months and months and months on these negotiations. So with that, I move 11A5 as amended.
Thank you, Commissioner. Show the item moved as amended, seconded by the Vice Chair. Commissioner Bermudez, you're recognized.
My only question is, did the county attorney ever do any of those car commercials? I just, the disclaimer at the end, he was pretty, that's just a query, because the voice sounded familiar, so went so fast there.
All right, show the item moved and seconded. Go ahead, Commissioner Gilbert.
It's not necessarily on the substance of the item, though I think the amendment broadens the item a little. I'm still supportive of Commissioner Regalado. But just procedurally, did we actually have to read the description and then the actual text? I thought we just had to do one.
I am always thorough. No, I just want to be clear.
Next time we could just read what it actually said. Yeah. That I just didn't know we had to read all of that.
All right, show the item moved as amended, seconded by Commissioner Gilbert. All in favor of the item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show that item pass. Is that the conclusion of our pool list?
No, you have two items. You have 14A1 and its supplement. It wasn't pulled, it was just added. There's no polling commissioner, and you have the ballot, which is 14B1 in the supplement.
Okay, 14, okay, so,
Happy to move 14A1.
Can I just say wait, is that the ballot that we're voting on, the Children's Trust?
yes.
I don't know about all you. I put my ballot in and I voted, but we got that this morning, last night. Is there any way we can get that earlier so we have time to go through the resumes and just make sure?
Yes,
you know,
we'll definitely try to do that if the administration or the actual office of the chair, the agenda court, I mean, whoever this comes to,
And to
my office, whoever it comes to.
Mr. Chair, to Commissioner Cyber's point, they knew it was on the agenda because we got emails. So we got emails from people, but we
Correct.
didn't get it from staff.
Yeah,
So-
you're absolutely right. So, all right, thank you. There's a motion by Commissioner Gilbert to move 14A1,
14A1.
seconded by Commissioner Higgins. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Show 14A1 passed. All right, now on the 14B1, which is the results of that, will the clerk announce the results?
Vice Chairman Rodriguez, we're still missing one ballot. I'm not sure if you want us to wait.
Who are we missing?
Commissioner Hardiman? I'm still missing the ballot. So I just need, once I receive it, a few minutes to tally it.
Okay, so then we'll come back to it. If the attorneys could read a motion on the federal legislative package that has been distributed.
As related to the 2025 federal legislative package, Chairman Rodriguez moves to 1, waive the provisions of resolution number 76413, providing for the board's selection of no more than 10 priorities for distribution to the Miami-Dade legislative delegation. 2, waive the provisions of resolution number 126718, directing the Office of Intergovernmental Affairs to seek the input of the county's federal contract lobbyists after the board approves the federal legislative package, and to prepare a report for the board's consideration detailing the findings of said feedback prior to the board's selection of the federal legislative priorities. And 3, accept as final the 2025 federal legislative package approved by the board at its April 1st, 2025 meeting.
All right, short moved by Commissioner Gilbert, seconded by Commissioner Milian Orbis. And any discussion on the federal? Saying none. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. All right. There's another motion that I will make to move to reappoint Eileen Higgins as the board's appointment to the Downtown Development Authority. To reappoint Eileen Higgins to the DDA. So it's been moved.
Can she be the chair?
It's been, yeah. It's been moved. It's been seconded by Commissioner Bermudez. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay.
Thank you.
Show that motion passed. Oh, Vice Chair is still here. All right. And we have 14B1. Is the clerk ready? All right, Commissioner Gilbert, you're recognized for a motion.
If the attorneys could read the motion I have, please. But if they're not ready, I can do it too.
Commissioner Gilbert moves to amend resolution number R-15924, which approved an interlocal agreement between the City of Miami Gardens and the county relating to a grant from Building Better Communities General Obligation Bond Program Project 320 Economic Development Fund to revise Section 4 of the interlocal agreement to obligate the county to reimburse the city for 100% of eligible public infrastructure costs incurred by the city as part of the GOB project up to the total amount of the grant, and to delete all references to the city funding an amount of capital costs equal to 43.14% of the invoice amount being submitted to the county for reimbursement.
Show it moved by Commissioner Gilbert, and would you like to?
Yeah, it doesn't change the amount of money that we granted them to build a performing arts center. What it does do, however, is change how they draw it down, and I think that's the primary change. What we found is it was requiring too much money being spent initially. It doesn't change the amount of money they have to have, or the private folks they're partnering with have to have. The bond, the grant amount stays the same.
All right. Show it moved by Commissioner Gilbert, seconded by Commissioner Higgins. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Show that motion carries. Commissioner Higgins for a motion.
Yes, the attorneys will read the motion, but just as background, we just opened the Magnus Brickell Mixed Income Housing Project. Art in Public Places got a little bit behind on several of the pieces that weren't delivered. The building's already open. We have lots of low-income seniors there. Related Urban substituted their own art, and so I would just like to relieve them from any future obligations to rescaffold the building and put up what they were depending. So there's a motion.
Commissioner Higgins moves to direct the county mayor or county mayor's designee to discontinue and forego any plans for any pending or planned art in public places projects at the affordable housing project located at 201 Southwest 10th Street, the Magnus Brickell project, to approve a limited waiver of the provisions of section 2-11.15 2B of the county code in accordance with Section 2-11.15 2C of the County Code for the Magnus Brickell project, and further waive the provisions of Administrative Order 3-11 and the Art in Public Places guidelines to relieve the developer RUDG LLC of any further payments into the Art in Public Places Trust Fund for the Magnus Brickell project other than the payment of $1,151,955.15 for the 5 artworks that have already been installed under the Art in Public Places program. And 3, to direct the county mayor or county mayor's designee to execute any necessary amendments with RUDG LLC or its affiliates or subsidiaries to the development and lease and master development agreements for the Magnus Brickell project following the approval by the county attorney's office for form and legal sufficiency to effectuate the policy set forth in this motion.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Higgins, seconded by Gilbert. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. All right, we'll go back to motions in a second. Madam Clerk, can you please read the results for 14B1?
Good afternoon. Agenda item 14B1 pertains to the nominations for appointment to the Children's Trust by Governor Ron DeSantis. A ballot was distributed to each commissioner containing 23 nominees. The top nominees selected are as follows. Laura Kelly, Jeffrey King, Miriam Sola Ramos with 10 votes each, Clara Laura Ospina with 7 votes, Randy Grice and Benjamin Nussbaum with 6 votes, Christine Hughes Ponte with 5 votes, Nicole Atong, Christian Berteau, Lizette Hermida, Richard Schutz with 4 votes, Valencia Morris, Luis Suarez, Diane Valdivia with 3 votes.
All right, so those will be, so do we need a vote on this? We do, right?
Yes.
All right, show it moved by Commissioner Higgins, seconded by Commissioner Gilbert. Is there any discussion on 14B1? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. All right, show the list sent over to Governor Ron DeSantis. All right, and then before we continue on the motions, just to make sure nobody else leaves, I think some may have to, I want to give just a couple minutes to Commissioner Orbis to say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First and foremost, I want to thank God for this amazing opportunity and for guiding my path every single day. I'd also like to thank my family for their constant support. To the members of this board, I thank you for the trust that you've placed in me. This is an incredible honor, and I accept this appointment with humility, gratitude, and a full heart. I'd like to recognize Ambassador Kevin Moreno Cabrera for his service to this county and now to our nation. One of his lasting legacies was his ability to rise above politics and stay focused on what matters most, results. And that's the spirit that I intend to carry forward. Public service has never just been a job for me. It's been my life's work. From starting with the county in 2006 to serving as vice mayor at West Miami, I've seen how government can be a force for good when we stay focused on the people and not politics. So to the residents of District 6, I will work every day to earn your trust, and I will be present and listen, and I will deliver. And I want to take a moment to commend each of you. This board is widely respected for professionalism, collaboration, and steady leadership that you bring to the dais, and it is a complete honor to join you on that work. So I thank you again for this opportunity, and I am ready to get to work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Once again, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Senator Garcia. Thank you for that. I know he is. Senator Garcia, you're recognized for an appointment.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and appoint Jose Azzi to the Community Action Agency Advisory Board.
All right.
Chair, I have Ms. Brett Greer-Moss to the Architectural and Engineering Advisory Board and Wendy Walsh to the Living Wage Commission. Thank you.
Any other appointments? Commissioner Regalado.
Juan Barek to Interfaith.
Mine's a motion.
No, yeah, well, I'm still coming back to motions. I'm just kind of, all right, so there's a motion for those 3 appointments.
Second.
There's a second by Commissioner Bermudez. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Show those folks appointed. All right, Commissioner Bermudez, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you. If I could have, I actually have 2, but if I could have the attorneys read whichever one they prefer to read first into the record.
Commissioner Bermudez moves to direct the county mayor to include in her proposed county budget for fiscal year 25-26 sufficient funding and staff to both the Regulatory and Economic Resources Department and the Information Technology Department to allow RER to implement the same systems and platforms for DERM that are available for building permitting. This would benefit the development community as it would provide more transparency to the permitting and approval process for DERM.
This, Mr. Chair, is part of one of our recent GET meetings, Government Efficiency Transparency Committee, where we became aware that part of the program is being used only with part of the department. And the director had indicated that this would be a great improvement in speeding up the DERM process, which we know, unfortunately, sometimes is part of the complaints that all of us get.
Okay. There's a
No pun
motion.
intended.
There's a second. Okay, I'm gonna go to you. Can I have a second though, or second by Commissioner Bastien? Commissioner Regalado.
Thank you. And listen, Commissioner Bermudez, we've talked about this before. I know that Lourdes has been working to digitize those permits, and one of the reasons that I have been mentioning on several occasions, and I have an item that does that, setting some of the enterprise departments free is because IT gets pulled in a million and one directions, right? So every time that there's an issue, for whatever reason, can't get these permits digitized. So I appreciate the item. I'm happy to support it. I just want to make sure that it also encompasses some of the issues that we've had, which is that people get pulled away. So just, be aware that, because what happens is they say, oh, we're going in to fix it. And then something else happens, right? And it's like whack-a-mole. And then they pull them out of there and they put them. So I think that the solution is in part to figure out who the staff is that's doing this work for RER, and to ensure that they stay there come hell or high water until they finish. Because it's been what I've learned from this process is they have another fire somewhere else and they call in the troops, and this never gets done. And I think we should just give them a deadline too. Because, doing the same thing over and over again, how many times have we said that we want these permits digitized? I've said it at least a million times over the last 4 years. So, and I know you've said it, and Lourdes has said it. So, I think we should probably give them a deadline.
And listen, I have no problem with that. You're right on point. The reason why the language was sufficient funding and staffing is because we don't want that whack-a-mole thing to continue to occur, especially with a department that touches practically everything in Dade County. So I have no objection if we give them a deadline too.
Commissioner Gilbert.
So, Commissioner Bermudez, this is something that it sounds like conceptually I'm in favor of. I just have some questions about this, and it's coming by way of motion. So, DERM, it's DERM and Enterprise Fund, because I didn't think it necessarily was.
The administration?
Through the chair, DERM does receive revenues from some of the work that it does, but it is actually regulatory.
It's our regulatory function, which means the difference for people who are watching enterprise funds, typically the services are paid for by the people who take advantage of those funds. So if you, you're an RER, they apply for permits and all the services, the permit fee covers all of that stuff. And so that's fine. Is it possible, before we do this, to incorporate more of DERM, or as much as possible DERM, into RER? And because my concern is that when you say something broad like get the systems and as many staff as possible, to the extent that that's not going to be in an enterprise fund, you're actually giving them a direction to, maybe a direction to us that we might have to raise taxes to do it. And so when we say these things and we pass this, and I can be supportive of this, but I don't want us to support this and then they come back with a suggestion saying, hey, we need this much more money in this department, and that translates to this from a financial perspective, and we say, no, go figure it out. If we're gonna have to be the people who figure that out. So what can we get, how much of this can we push into, and maybe we should be looking at merging DERM and RER to the greatest extent possible. Maybe we should be looking at that so that those fees are directly connected to people who are applying for those services. Otherwise, I think that it's a broader conversation about how much money it's going to take, because not putting an amount, like if you capped it at 5 million, okay. But not putting an amount, if they come back and say they need 30 people and the software costs $6 million, we've done something extraordinary on a motion without any committee review.
And Commissioner Gilbert, you bring up some very valid points, which that's precisely why it would hopefully be something that the mayor is going to look at in her proposed fiscal budget. And I think, as the administration has indicated, while some of the funds are certainly funds that DERM receives, they're not limited necessarily to just, it's not just an enterprise fund. I don't think by approving it in the language that we have now, we're still going to be able to make that final decision. If in fact it comes back to us and the mayor says, hey, it's going to cost, I don't know, pick the number, $10 million, $6 million, we would still be able to have that final decision at that time. I just think that this has been one of the issues that, that it came up in these discussions because it really slows down the process when we're not using or not having the same system being used. But I'm all with you as long as we're still going to have the final say. So if the mayor comes back and it doesn't make any sense, you know, because the cost is so great, then obviously we'll debate it and vote it up or down. But at least this gives the mayor the direction to start looking at this issue.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, just quickly, I support the item. Thank you.
All right, so the item moved by Commissioner Bermudez, seconded by Commissioner Gilbert. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Shall that motion pass? Madam Attorney, you have another motion for Commissioner Bermudez?
Yep.
Commissioner Bermudez moves to direct the county mayor or county mayor's designee to create as part of the mayor's WISE 305 strategic initiative for enhancing government efficiency, subject to legally available funding from within the fiscal year 2024-2025 county budget, a publicly available website for the purpose of allowing county residents and community stakeholders to submit suggestions, comments, and feedback as to how to make Miami-Dade County government more efficient and transparent. A link to the website should be placed within the mayor's WISE 305 webpage and should be publicly available for a period of at least 6 months. Finally, the website shall be operated and managed by the Board of County Commissioners Media Division, which shall be responsible for collecting and circulating to the board on a monthly basis all comments, suggestions, and feedback submitted in connection therewith.
And this is something that I had talked about before, but trying to do it in a Solomonic way, not to give you, Mr. Chair, more work, but we would still have it under, obviously, the County Commissioners Media Division. And the goal would be, since through our committee and through, obviously, the WISE 305 program, there are a lot of things that are similar. And I believe the general public should be able to give us comments. And it does us no good if we get comments in 2 different areas. So if we could actually figure out a way that, you know, the public has an opportunity to make those comments, and both of us have access to it, including whatever the mayor may be receiving as or the mayor's WISE 305 program, which is a great strategic initiative. That way we don't duplicate efforts, but at least we give the public that opportunity. And all of us would be able to then have the same access to the information. So would the mayor, obviously. And I think it behooves us as we look to, you know, go ahead and be more efficient and effective, to an abundance of transparency, give an opportunity to the general public to express themselves through something that costs very little, which is basically opening up something on the site where you can make your comments.
All right. I agree with the intent. I don't know if it's better suited for a committee. It would probably go to your committee, but Commissioner Regalado, I'll let you.
Sure, thank you. And I like the idea, Commissioner Ramirez. I would just caution you. Recently, we had a 4-month back and forth because I brought an item requesting information from the administration, and the administration that the information that was available online to our auditor was not up to date. And we went 10 rounds on how long it takes our ITD to update information on our websites. So whenever we, you know, and that took us down a rabbit hole of how long it takes them to build websites and fix websites and update them. We have a lot of issues with that, and a lot of complaints from different departments about that. That being said, the idea that you have is something that is effectuated in water and sewer with county employees. So water and sewer is a department where county employees actually submit their ideas through a platform, and then those ideas are vetted and judged, and then we give them awards for their best ideas. So it is something that the county has done, and there is an existing vehicle for that, which is probably better than like a website and adding this as a component of a website. You might be better off just creating like an email address where people can send their thoughts. And then those thoughts can go into some sort of registry that is then made available to the board. I will tell you that while we were going through the the waste situation, I was inundated with people who had ideas and plans, and the amount of time that it took to go through them all, I'm still reeling from. So that's my only caveat. Like, people will come up with all sorts of things. And in there is some good ones, but there's a lot of information that people share. And just, I don't know how do you capture that in terms of the bandwidth, who's going to be going through it, how are they going to be curating that, and what's going to come to us, because it can be just a daunting amount of information. But I love the intent. I just think we need to flush it out a little bit more, because it could just provide another vehicle for people to complain that we're not getting back to them, which is, probably not the best.
Yeah, no, through the chair, I understand, and listen, let me simplify this, make it as easy as possible. I think whatever goes in there, whether to us or to the WISE 305 program, we should all get access to. You can read them or not read them. There may be a person that uses public transportation that is not Eileen Higgins, that actually can have a good suggestion on something maybe they've experienced. And I think if we're talking about being, more efficient and effective, we should give them a place to at least let us know. From us then taking into account and turning to something different, that's a different story. But I think we don't lose anything. I don't think it's costly. I agree with you, Commissioner Regalado, that if it takes 4 months to get the information, then it defeats the purpose. So maybe the easiest thing is just to have a repository where any one of us and or the mayor can get access to whoever sends it to this place. And I'd be open to that too. I just want to, it's a simplified process to hear from our residents and stakeholders, if they so choose, via technology. That's it. If we overly complicate it, then we'll never get it done. But I do think that it would be a smart thing. Not all the residents can come to our committee meetings, to our Board of County Commissioner meetings to speak, and it would give them an opportunity, both in the case of the mayor's WISE 305 initiative, and obviously some of the things we may be doing as a board to express themselves. Whether you choose to look into it, not look into it, I leave that up to each individual to decide. But at least there would be a repository, is my thought process.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I find myself in the opposition of somewhat agreeing with Commissioner Regalado. Yeah, it's very odd for me. I think we probably need to look at this more. Yeah, we need to look at this more and maybe see what's being done and see how we can consolidate those things. I think this probably needs to be an item. We're doing it by motion, and we haven't had a chance to actually vet it. And so I really would like for us to have the opportunity to vet this in a resolution and go to committee. And I just say this, I appreciate what you're saying, Commissioner Bermudez, and I actually think that you're right. You want to create avenues for people to communicate. I get that. That's very well intended. We want to create broader avenues, as many as possible. But I think that to say that it's not going to cost a lot, we don't know if it will or not, because when we open something up like this, we are obliged to actually make sure it is reviewed, analyzed. It's going to cost something, because one of the very worst things we could do is say, hey, yeah, send us your thoughts, and no one reads them. So people are going to believe that we are reading them. And I want to see what else we're doing throughout the departments that we could actually merge this with. I think this is better an item going to a committee where we could actually vet it out.
Commissioner Bermudez, is that something that you're willing to bring an item?
I find that we can bring it back to committee and talk about it. I mean, look, again, the purpose is going to be for us, and I think I applaud you, Mr. Chair, for creating the committee, which I think is very timely, Government Efficiency Transparency Committee. And maybe, like Commissioner Gilbert says, is let's see what's happening in water and sewer, like Commissioner Regalado, and let's see if there's a way we can consolidate some of that to get this information. I just think that the 13 of us and the administration should have a chance to, at the very least, hear from the general public and stakeholders out there that may not be able to make, but I'd be more than happy if we can, fine with, let's bring it to committee and try to come up with something that everybody finds acceptable at a reasonable cost, because we're not going to do something that's going to unend the whole process. If that's fine with you, Mr. Chair, and I'd love to hash this out at the GET committee.
That works. So
And,
let's
and
show
move
the
forward.
motion withdrawn by the commissioner. And then if the administration, if the attorneys could draft an item for him, right? Commissioner Bermudez, if the attorneys could draft an item for him to submit
Yeah.
to my office, and if it's done quickly enough, see if we can put it into this month's meeting.
Perfect.
All right?
Thank you.
All righty. Commissioner Hardiman, any appointments or motions? Commissioner Bastian,
Yes, Mr. Chair, I do have a motion that I'd like the attorney to read into the records.
go ahead.
Commissioner Bastian moves to waive by a vote of 2/3 of the board members present, resolution number R-365-21, which imposes a moratorium on the conveyance of county-owned property without current access to the sanitary sewer system as it pertains to the conveyance of the property located at 8670 Northwest 14th Avenue, Miami, Florida, folio number 30-3111-046-0130, which was conveyed to Propelling into Triumph Incorporated for affordable housing, and resolution number R-458-24, and to amend resolution number R-458-24 to reflect such waiver.
All right, show it. Moved by Commissioner Bastian, seconded.
This is my reso.
Oh, it's her
She's
motion.
moving it. Yeah, she's moving. I'm going to speak on it.
Oh, okay. Seconded by Commissioner Higgins. And then Commissioner Regalado, you're recognized.
Thank you. Yeah, so I appreciate it, but the resolution that's being waived is the one that I brought in terms of the last thing you want to give someone that has affordable housing is a septic tank, and that still remains true. So what I want to know from the administration is how far are we on the conveyance? And has the developer priced out the supersonic septic system that they're going to have to buy? And what is the plan for having the homeowners maintain this system?
Commissioner, that's to the administration, right? But then Commissioner Bastian wants to, go ahead, Commissioner.
Yes, Commissioner. So this property was conveyed to the infield program, right? To Propelling into Triumph in May 2024. And Propelling into Triumph is an organization that provides services to foster care that are youth that are transitioning into adulthood. However, and we do know how important this housing is for them, because for the most part, they don't have any families supporting them. So the problem is there are no access to sewer, and then they need to move on because that is so important to them. Yeah.
So, I mean, but have they priced it? So they're going to get the fiber, they're going to get the septic system. Do they know how much it costs? Have they done the logistics on it?
That I don't have this information.
Yeah, that's the only thing I would say. I'm just saying, we no more concrete septic tanks. They're really, really expensive. They have an enormous berm, so.
So to be sure, they are aware of the requirements, and they want to follow our orders, but there are no connections. So they know that they have to do it. They're aware of it.
As long as we're also meeting with all the requirements to have a fiberglass septic system with the correct setbacks, and we're not waiving any of those requirements as we waive this reso. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so there's a motion by Commissioner Bastian, seconded by Commissioner Higgins. See no further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Show that motion passed.
Thank you.
Commissioner Steinberg, any motions or appointments? Commissioner Regalado? Commissioner Gonzalez is gone. Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, no. Commissioner Emiliano Orbis? And Commissioner Gilbert did yours, right? And the rest did theirs. All right, anything further on the agenda, Madam Attorney?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know if we have any other motions.
Commissioner Bastian? Your microphone?
food was brought to you from District 2. I hope you're enjoying it. Sorry.
Yes, thank you very much.
The shiktai was a little bit spicy, but I hope
It was,
that
it
you're
was, it
enjoying
was,
the-
but it was good.
Yeah, you're enjoying the griot and the akra.
Thank you. And with that, Commissioner Bastian moves, we adjourn.
So moved.
Show us adjourned.